WPEN and WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Live from the Comcast Business Studios. 97.5 The Fanatic. Now, the John Kincade Show. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hey, you. Splash a little water in your face. You look like you were up late last night. We're all a little worse for wear this morning after Super Bowl 58, which had one of the crappiest first halves that I can ever remember. And then picked up. Second half got exciting. Overtime was obviously extremely interesting. And congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. I hate to say that. Another title for the Chiefs and Andy Reid. But better to me than the alternative of seeing the San Francisco 49ers celebrating a title. I will take that any day of the week. The greatness of Patrick Mahomes, the decision-making of coaches and players on notice. And all I can say is that I couldn't coach an NFL football game. I could manage a baseball game. Whether I do it well or not, I could make out a lineup, make strategic changes during a game. I know I could coach a hockey game. I know I could understand that process with it, understand it. An NBA game I could never coach, despite the fact that I wouldn't understand strategically. I'd get run circles around. But I know this. If it was overtime in an NFL game and I had the opportunity to do so, I am letting the other team get the ball first. I go back to it. Kyle Shanahan, one of the most brilliant play callers in the entire NFL. I think him and Andy Reid, chess masters. But decisions in big Super Bowl stages, he just had, I don't know what it is. I would always let the other team go first in overtime with the ball. I want my team to be able to play 4-down football. And I don't know how the game of football is going to evolve. And we've talked about the fact that the kick return game is sort of gone by the wayside. But I'm telling you right now, I wouldn't be shocked if 5-10 years from now, teams just refuse to punt. Because if one quarterback in the history of the game could play 4-down football and make it be successful, I have no doubt that it's Patrick Mahomes. And that was a interesting thing to watch. And when San Francisco had the ball to start overtime, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't. I absolutely couldn't believe it. To me, that is the stupidest strategy decision, and at a big time. And I wonder, did Kyle Shanahan get caught napping there, Bobby? I don't. I would always want my team to play 4-down football in overtime.
Yeah.
To know exactly what they need to do. We need to score a touchdown. We need to have a field goal. Here's what we did. I can't believe that they decided to go first with it.
I got to tell you, that game kind of put me in a malaise. Usually I'm on top of it. I'm thinking as the game goes along, questioning, agreeing with, learning something, whatever it is, my mind's going. This one, I was like, my mind was stuck in molasses. It was just kind of like, oh my God, this game sucks. And I'm reading Pat's tweets and laughing. He watched the second half in Spanish. And it just wasn't that great of a game. I'm saying, all right, maybe these defenses are just so good that, everybody wants offense for it to be a good game. So let me look at that side of the ball. And it was good defensively. But honestly, my brain was in a malaise. It goes to overtime. He does it. And it was almost like, like you're laying in bed with your eyes closed and a dog kind of like sniffs at you and you open one eye. That's what I did. I wasn't asleep, but I kind of opened an eye and said, wait a minute. What's he doing here?
Why are you doing that?
Yeah, so then I go to the other way. There has to be a reason. He's forgotten more football than any of us combined listening. So my thought was, he doesn't want to put the pressure on Purdy if Kansas City scores, saying you have to go down and score, Mr. Irrelevant. Then I was like,
That's what I also in my mind went to.
Oh, did you?
That's what I thought he did. He didn't want to put the pressure on his quarterback.
And then
it's ridiculous to me, but
yeah. And then I just thought, maybe he's just making a mistake, and turned out to be so. But the fact that my thinking didn't go overboard, like what the hell is he doing? I guess I didn't have as much problem as everybody else, but I understand it.
It was it's a spectacle. All right, put it this way. When Jalen Hurts got the ball in overtime against the Bills and was only down 3. In that game, I remember Pat saying it. I know I said it. I sat in the Kincade as I'm watching that game. I was like, the Eagles are winning this game. Or he's going down and scoring. Last year, when they were trailing in the Super Bowl, I thought if they had just had more time, that Jalen Hurts would have led them down, at least tied the game. If he had an extra 45 seconds to a minute, they would have at least tied the game down by a field goal. Last night, the minute the San Francisco kicked the field goal, I said, Chiefs are winning. I absolutely believe the Chiefs were winning.
I absolutely had that same feeling. Yeah, you knew it. And it's funny you bring up the Jalen Hurts thing, because I was thinking of that last night. I thought that might have been a turning point for the Eagles season, too. He got the ball. They had to score a touchdown. Rare were the times in his career yet that Jalen Hurts has been given the ball and say, you have to go score a touchdown to win the game. Rarely does that happen. Happened against Buffalo. He goes down and does it. I thought after the game, all right, this might be the turning point of the season. It was. They crapped the bed after that. That was the turning point of the season.
Pat, how was the Spanish broadcast? Was it interesting?
So I kind of threw it on second half as a joke because I couldn't take CBS. You guys know I mean, everything about that broadcast annoys me. So threw it on as a joke, and I was like, wow, these guys are actually making a horrible game exciting.
Now, wait a minute.
So I'm going to keep it.
But you also were the guy who was listening to baseball during Spanish class at Newman.
I was, yeah. I mean, look, I don't speak Spanish, just flat out. I just don't. But I mean, the
excitement level.
They were like, yeah, it was amazing. They were getting exciting, and then I realized like I don't really need the play-by-play. Like I know what's going on, and when they would throw a flag, you could hear the English interpret. Like you knew what they were saying. They were having the referee call the flag in English.
Right.
So I just kept the second half in Spanish. Zero regrets about it. It was awesome. Would probably do that again for a boring game. But that's the thing. I mean, Bob laid it out. It was a crappy game for most of it and kind of picked up. But it was just a sloppy football game. I tweeted out at one point, because somebody high up in the NFL had jokingly said, well, our script, because people think the NFL scripted, our script is going to be the first double overtime game. I was like, look, I know people will think that this is an indication that NFL scripted. No one would script that slop because it was a very sloppy, gross game.
You would have scripted a game like the Eagles.
Exactly. And, I'm sitting there watching it going like, thank God every Eagles Super Bowl I've watched has been like at least a good game. This is just gross. So, but I mean, when it went to overtime and Pat Mahomes ended up getting the ball second, I was like, you guys are probably cooked at this point. That team knows how to win. Yeah, they just know how to get it done. Even to drive down the field to get the field goal, I would have taken another shot to the end zone. I think they had enough time.
What was it, 9, 10?
It was so 10 seconds they took a shot. Then they had 6 seconds on the clock.
I would have had one more shot.
I would have taken one more shot.
I agreed with that.
And then,
but you agreed with kicking it.
Yeah, I did. Because the game was so sloppy, and you have that in your mind. And my God, if you go back and shotgun and flub it, and then you got to go get. I was okay with it. Yeah, I hear what you guys are saying. Now I understand that too.
But when he got the ball to drive down the field to tie the game to send it to overtime, I was like, "There's way too much time on the clock. They're gonna kick a field goal to tie it." And then you get the ball in the second in overtime, and it's like, all right, well. Yeah, this is going to be enjoyable because I do enjoy watching the 49ers lose.
Why do you think Shanahan? Do you think it's what Bob? Because what Bob said is what I suspected. He didn't want the pressure on Purdy if Purdy had to have a game-winning or game-tying touchdown drive.
So he said in I heard it on Overnights. His explanation for it was he wanted the ball third because he's expecting his offense to score. And he figures that if the Chiefs end up responding with a touchdown, if the 49ers score a touchdown and the Chiefs respond, then he gets the ball back, and then it's first team to score wins.
He wanted the ball third.
That was his explanation for it. And I guess if you have confidence in your offense scoring, it does make sense in a way. I would have taken the ball second, but that's just me.
There's another. Sorry, John. There's another thing that could come into play too, and I thought of this last night when he did it. Was his defense just totally tired as hell?
Could have been.
Absolutely. They just let them go down the field. Not let them, but Kansas City just went down the field. I can't imagine the energy it takes playing against the Kansas City offense. Just mentally, obviously with Patrick Mahomes, and then there he started scrambling again and doing all those things. I don't know. Maybe that came into play also, that he was looking at his defense saying, nah, let me give them a rest.
All right, gut instinct. If you take last year's Super Bowl and this year's Super Bowl, do you believe on the biggest stage Jalen Hurts outplayed Brock Purdy? Because I do. I believe it's
God,
I don't even think it's close.
Oh, no. Absolutely.
So that made me, and again, it shouldn't make me. I had one of my buddies last night going, oh, my God, are you reaching? You are reaching for silver linings. But I looked at it and said, on the biggest stage last year, with all the pressure on him, especially trailing in the fourth quarter, I saw Jalen Hurts playing like a Michael Jordan type, like just putting it on his shoulders and doing great things. I didn't see the same out of Brock Purdy. With the Super Bowl in his hands, I didn't see the same type of level of performance, and that gives me hope for the future.
Well,
it gives me hope for, okay, Hurts will clear this up, he'll work this out, and he is going to be great because I've seen him be great on the biggest stage. Under the most pressure, I saw him with the ice water in his veins, and I thought Purdy looked a little overwhelmed.
I can't go that far.
Okay,
Just
and
me.
that's what I was told.
Like,
I was told.
Okay, what's his name? Jalen Hurts had a really good game in the Super Bowl, no question about it. That's one game. Brock Purdy wasn't all there for this Super Bowl. If you're comparing which quarterback was better, sure, I'll go with Jalen Hurts.
I think it's Hurts by a mile, yeah.
For the one Super Bowl that he played and the one that Brock Purdy played. But moving forward or going backward, no, it doesn't. It just
doesn't do anything for you.
No, it really doesn't, because the Jalen Hurts that played last year was far, far different than the one that played this year.
I was told that I was reaching, Pat, but I was trying to find any silver lining as I sort of had to swallow the fact that the Eagles weren't in the game and San Francisco was.
Yeah, my silver lining reaching moment was, as I said, the fact that I've watched the Eagles in 3 Super Bowls and none of them have been boring. So
there you go.
I was the same
That's
way.
a
I'm
good
trying
one,
to
though.
find like a silver lining-ish. I mean, but my other silver lining, I'm happy for Andy. Like, I know a lot of Eagles fans are still
I love Andy Reid.
over it, and they, all right, he got his one, we're done. Nah, I'm happy for him. I'm thrilled that Andy. I feel like at this point has solidified himself as arguably that I think he's a top 2 coach in the NFL history, and you can make the case he's number 1.
I think he's the greatest.
I agree.
I really do. I put him ahead of Belichick. I really do. I just.
It's interesting that he
did it
grew
multiple
2 quarterbacks.
places.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was still an amazing. Let's put it the last way. The last hour of football was really, really fun to watch, but that first half dragged like I've never seen a first half drag. That was just for a Super Bowl.
It was funny. Our daughter came out at 7:15, end of the first quarter, and said, what time will halftime be about? Because she had to do some work in her room or whatever. And I said, probably around 8 o'clock. And Donna was like, no, it'll probably be more towards 8:15. And I go, no, I don't know. I don't think a second quarter is going to take a whole hour. Sure enough.
Oh, my gosh.
Let me give you another thing. And this was like a little side note here. We talked about it on Friday about things you don't like about the Super Bowl. And I told you, I just want it to be a normal game. Both teams took the field before the game. 23 minutes later was when the kick was made to start the game.
See, that's not right. It's not right.
Halftime, so 55 to halftime was another 20.
Is it 35?
Was another 32 minutes.
Yeah, I thought it was like 35. It's crazy.
Like you can't have that. That's just me. I just want normal football, and it sucks. And Travis Kelce's speech to the team was, look, we've overcome adversity. We've played in minus 20 degree. We've played in rain. We finally have a nice field just to show what kind of team we can be. Yeah, that's what I want out of the Super Bowl. I want it to be as normal as possible between the best 2 teams in the NFL. And the halftime show was incredible. I thought it was great, but I can't, like, all the side stuff doesn't make it a normal football game to me.
See, I loved every one of the – I loved the set, the tunes.
I was surprised it was on the field. There was no covering on the field. Did you notice that?
There was none.
Usually
they usually have that mat that comes out on stage.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say, though, is that there was just too much. Like, to me, there was too much going on. Like, there was too much going on. But the set was excellent as far as the songs. Everybody, but I just thought there was a ton going on. But it was a great finish to the Super Bowl, and we're on to Super Bowl 59. How did the Eagles get to New Orleans? That's my path.
Just call Vince from Philly Sports Trips. He'll figure out a way.
Well, hopefully Vince is going to get us down to New Orleans next year during the regular season. I love New Orleans for football. I think New Orleans is a great Super Bowl city. And from all reports, and I had a bunch of buddies that were there all weekend long, and covered the event last week, they thought it is a slam dunk. Vegas is going to be in the regular rotation. It was huge. Yeah. The NFL got every celebrity they wanted to come. All the advertising dollars were immense, so I think it's going to be in the mix. And Philly Sports Trips, by the way, Pat, strange you say that. They're giving away a trip for two to MetLife Stadium this Saturday to watch the Orange and Black in the 2024 Stadium Series, courtesy of PhillySportsTrips.com. We will talk about how you can win that one coming up in the course of the show today. Our 6 a.m. sponsor, as always, Bradford White Water Heaters. Bradford White is here for the pro. Now, Super Bowl Sunday couldn't just be quiet. It's Philadelphia. There had to be drama, and I think that a lot of people maybe slept through business class. We'll talk about it next. John Kincade Show here on 97.5, The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Hopefully your Monday morning is going to go smoothly after a late Sunday night for most of us. Super Bowl running late. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic, and a Fanatic Mondays presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. We love those folks. Visit nopaybryant.com and get flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. So Super Bowl's in the books. So now we can officially look towards Super Bowl 59 and hope that what we get next year is a much more, let's just say, tantalizing, exciting product. I love that word, tantalizing. This brings a little smile. Brings a little smile to me. It's thinking something's going to be just absolutely fabulous. We'll see if we'll see how this offseason goes down. Many times, and it's something that in sports media, I am a believer that there's a lot of people that didn't go to business classes. Because immediately yesterday when the Ian Rappaport story came out, it was, well, Haason Reddick's gone. He's gone. What a stupid mistake. Can't believe the Eagles are doing this. Oh, my gosh. It's crazy. When that is not the case at all. In fact, this is exactly what the Phillies did with Aaron Nola this year. Exactly the same situation. Go find out what's out there in the open market. You're a free agent. We'll try to... We'll round back. We'll see, and hopefully we'll come to a deal when you see what the market said. It's like exactly what happened. This is master negotiating in my mind on the part of Howie Roseman. Whether everybody wants a blank check to Haason Reddick. Yeah, whatever. Haason Reddick, we gotta have him. Can't do without him. Gotta have him. What Howie Roseman's saying is, and I do believe. And we will have guys who actually cover this beat who will verify this. I do believe that the Eagles have already made Haason Reddick an extension offer, and he didn't like what they offered, whether it's in dollars or term. And my guess would be he's got 1 year left in his deal. Knowing his age, he'll be playing at 30 next year, so it'll be for year 31 and 32. I bet you the Eagles offered him a couple years. Extension on the 1 year that he's got to make it like a 3-year, term where he's covered with a lot of upfront money. And he didn't either like the money or like the term. He wants more. He wants to cash in more. And that's his right. He's got every right to do so. But it doesn't mean he's gone. And more importantly, what Haason Reddick and his camp thinks he's worth, I guarantee you Howie Roseman already understands the market. And understands what he's probably going to hear when he takes his roadshow of, here, I'm going to let my agent shop my wares to 31 other teams. He already knows how he understands what the market is. I don't believe for a second that this is the Eagles saying disrespect to Haason Reddick. They're not going to. They're disrespecting him. They're not respecting what he's done for this organization. I don't believe that's it at all. I think they've already offered him an extension. He didn't like the number or he didn't like the term, and so they said, "Go shop." And if you find something better, I am also of the belief that he is going to bring it back to the Eagles, and they're going to have a chance to say thumbs up, thumbs down. We'll meet it. We won't. Let's part. I don't think this is like the building's burning down. And yesterday, I felt as if there was a lot of people who maybe slept through business law or one of those classes that they might have been required to take. Because I wasn't in any way thinking, disaster. This is bad news for the Eagles. In any way, shape, or form, looking at it.
That wasn't my first reaction, that it was bad, disaster, here it goes. But a soon after reaction was, damn, don't you just wish this could have been smooth and they got it done with? You laid out a perfect business model. I don't know. That's all speculation, right?
All speculation.
We don't know that that's how it went. Maybe they did lowball him. Maybe
they could have. They could have.
They could have given, look, we'll give you 2 years at such and such a year, and we'll guarantee this. And he might have been like, are you kidding me? And they could. Maybe it is bad. Maybe it's not good business the way they're. Maybe the Reddick camp came back and said, "Are you guys nuts? Like, are you serious after what he gave you?" And then maybe the Eagles said, "All right, well then go look elsewhere and see what you can find." Maybe this, I don't know. I
Right,
can't
we don't
say
know.
that it's good business. I can't say maybe the Eagles did say, well, we think it's fair. If you go find something even better, come back to us and we'll see where we are. Maybe. I don't know. But it sucks that you're here. I will agree with that.
You don't want to be
It
there.
sucks that you're here in that your best defensive player, now there's a contract squabble after your defense was so bad last year. Yeah, it kind of sucks.
It sucks. I mean, it sucks that nobody wants to see him gone. Nobody wants to see Haason Reddick gone. But I also don't want to see them overpaying for a defensive end going into his 30s, because that is not smart business to extend too far or to invest too much. Because, again, no matter how much you love a player, the 30 age thing matters. It does. And it is not smart business to just be like, yeah, this guy deserves it. You don't pay, unfortunately, you don't pay in the NFL for what guys did for you. You pay for what guys can do for you in the future. And this is exactly what the Phillies did with Aaron Nola. And it worked out. Aaron Nola went shopping. Aaron Nola found out what the market was. And then Aaron Nola came back because the Phillies were willing to match the number. Where do you fall on it, Patty?
We're Goldilocks and the Three Bears. You're fine. Sky's not falling. Bob's in the middle. I am. Sky's falling.
And
I completely disagree with you, by the way, about
Okay.
in the NFL, you don't pay for what guys have done. That's every league pays for what guys have done. You pay for what you think they will be when you extend them early, i.e., Avonte Maddox and Jordan Mailata. But in free agency, that's the definition of you're paying for what guys have done and what you expect them to do based on their track record.
In their 30s. I do not believe that at all.
When he hits his 30s, if he ends up going to free agents, and by the way, like 30, that's J.J. Watt, or not J.J. Watt, that's T.J. Watt, that's Chris Jones. Like 30 isn't. I don't look at 30
don't think
as
he's
like
that
35.
guy either.
You don't think he's as good as them?
No, I don't think he's T.J. Watt. I think if you had 32 general managers in a room, and they said you can have T.J. Watt or Haason Reddick, here's the number.
Yeah, probably.
I believe it would be a clean sweep for T.J. Watt.
Yeah, and T.J. Watt would be the highest paid guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
and
I'm
I think
saying,
that.
Haason Reddick's going to be a cheaper version of T.J. Watt, but the fact they're in the same conversation. Look, this team has no defensive end room at all, and this is not good. Like, I'm not going to pretend it's good. I'm not going to convince myself it's good. I don't like seeing that the only defensive end that can get home to the quarterback consistently is now able to seek a trade. My sky is falling. I'm not doing well. I will be talking to my therapist deeply about this, and it's the last thing I needed before I had to watch the 49ers and Chiefs, two unlikable teams in the Super Bowl. And I appreciate you asking my opinion on it. But yeah, I'm not doing well.
So you're sitting
But
there.
we really are like Goldilocks. It's like too hot, too cold, just right.
Right, we have three different stories on this. I absolutely believe that, but I would say to you, I can't remember, Pat, chemo brain kicking in. I don't remember where you sat on the Phillies letting saying to Aaron Nola, go shop.
I didn't want Aaron Nola back.
Oh, okay.
But that was different, though, because he was a free agent. He didn't have one more year left on his deal. Haason Reddick has one more year left on his deal. And that's, to me, the frustrating part is I just feel like it's hubris on their part of going like, yeah, go ahead, go find something else. We're good. And sometimes you're not good. Sometimes when you have no defensive end room, you're not good at all. If this were Fletcher Cox, say Fletcher Cox had one more year left on his deal, he wanted to get re-upped, and the Eagles said, "Look, Fletch, you're all-time great. Go seek a trade, man. If you think you're worth that." I'd have no problem with it because you had already drafted Fletcher Cox's replacements. You haven't drafted Haason Reddick's replacement.
Yeah. But also, let's go back to when Cox was in his prime. So say he's 30 years old, and the way he was playing football then. You have to look at it that way because that's where Reddick is now. Yeah, Fletcher Cox now is 34, 35 years old. And, yeah, they do have his backups behind him. But if I took Fletcher Cox back at 30, 29, and he had a year left, and this was happening, yeah, I think it'd be different, right?
A little bit. I do remember when Fletcher Cox was hitting that big time, is he $100 million defensive tackle money? And the fan base was split.
It was split, yes.
On do you actually pay a guy that much money? And we're talking Fletcher Cox was 30 in the 2020 season. So, I would have been in 2020, and it is hindsight, but I think I would have been okay with it. But
you would have been okay with moving on?
I got to look at their roster and see who they had. I don't think he was coming off a great year, though. That's the thing. Like, I don't think Fletcher Cox after the 2020 season was.
He's had a couple blips.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, it looks like
not
he was
terrible blips, but a couple blips.
I'd have to look and see like who they had it depth-wise, but if they did it now, I would have no problem with it. But back then, they just paid Javon Hargrave. They had Malik Jackson coming back from an injury. I don't know. I mean, I might have been okay with them moving on from Fletch.
Do you believe that, like, the story and none of it depicted, do you in your heart of hearts think there is animosity now between the Eagles and Haason Reddick and he's gone and it's just a matter of where he lands? Or do you believe he's actually shopping? Because whenever you hear shop for a trade, it usually means that both sides have agreed. We want to hear what the market sounds like, and then we can talk about the number for you to stay here. That is usually what this means in any negotiation. In all the years I've been doing this, that's usually what it means. Both sides have there's a line of communication between both sides, and not saying, oh, I'm definitely going to come back, but hey, here's where we are.
Well, look at it two ways. One, what's the label now that Haason Reddick has on him? He's open. He's open for business.
Right.
So if the Eagles wanted him that badly, that never would have come about. I mean,
correct.
Negotiations would have stayed inside. Maybe they would have worked it out and said, okay, we're a little bit far apart, but let's keep working, let's keep hammering it out. The second part of it is what happens when players in any sport get traded? What's their first words out of their mouths? Yeah, I know, it's a business. So does Haason Reddick feel he's being slighted by the Eagles? Maybe, but if players truly believe what they say anytime there's a trade, whatever, well, it's a business, and the Eagles are trying to do the best business for them. Haason Reddick is trying to do the best business for him. Should they meet somewhere in between, good for us as fans that you get him back. But I think more of it now that the label is out there. The Eagles, you can't say they're shopping him, but the Eagles are allowing him to shop himself.
He's shopping himself, right.
That makes me more lean towards he might not be back.
Do you think that now I'm just trying to look at at what might this could be all about. Do you believe there's any chance that, it's not going to be, if anyone's expecting the new defense to be blitz happy under Vic Fangio, man, they're going to be attacking the quarterback, blitz, blitz, blitz. You're going to be sadly mistaken. That's not what's going to happen. That's not what he's going to be about. So to me, maybe is there a chance that he doesn't fit what Vic Fangio wants to do?
I can't imagine a good edge rusher doesn't fit any defense. I will say this, what crossed my mind yesterday, and this could be totally off kilter, was, wow, did they use him in bad ways last year because they knew this was coming? Did they drop him back? Look, if I'm an idiot. I don't know anything about football compared to these guys. If you put me in as a defensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Eagles, first thing I do is I say, okay, what's the best thing we have here? Oh, yeah, it's that edge rusher, number 7 over there. He's the best thing you got going. I almost cursed. I'm going to mess with that? Like, think about that. Sean Desai and Matt Patricia decided to take your best pass rusher, and not only did one guy throw him into pass coverage and you thought, what the hell are they doing? The next guy comes in and does it even more.
Maybe they were trying to lower his value, Bobby.
Well, that could be.
Maybe they were trying to show, hey, this linebacker doesn't know how to cover.
Maybe he's 6'1", 240.
Well, I think he proved that. But that's not what we want him to do.
No, exactly.
That's not what we want him to do.
That's my point.
Yeah,
we don't want you jumping center for the Sixers either, Pat.
Like sometimes I wonder, are business moves being made during games right in front of our eyes?
I don't think that's outrageous at all to think that.
I don't think are you devaluing Haason Reddick during a season where you're saying, oh, my God, everything is falling apart. Let's drop him back in the cover. I hope to God
I hope that's not the case.
But, I mean, what were they doing with him?
No one knows.
No
one knows. Tom in Alabama may know. Tom, good morning. You're on the Fanatic.
Morning. I hope everyone's doing well.
We are trying our best. What's going on?
Not much. I thought it was a good game and everything. It shows how far we are away. But, I know we're light on end and a lot of other positions as far as defense. And I like Reddick, especially the fact he's from the area and he wears it. But isn't it convenient for him to step up now in the worst of times and ask for something?
Well, he's look, with 1 year left on his deal, Tom, I have no problem in the NFL for any player, especially a huge performer, a guy who is one of your better players, saying, I want the security more of 1 year. That's just how business is done in the NFL. He's not doing anything differently than any other player of his caliber would be doing with their franchise.
Well, Howie Roseman seems to be playing chicken, I guess you would say, because I mean, we are light, like Pat said, on end and everywhere else. But I mean, I don't know unless he's relying on having one hell of a draft.
Well, that is, and free agency maybe. Tommy, thank you, buddy. Hope you're feeling well. It is a game of chicken. When you allow one of your employees to say, I'm going to shop my wares and I may or may not come back. But I do believe, and I'll stand by this, I do believe that they've already received an offer from the Eagles that they didn't like. I think that's what it is.
Or they didn't.
So you believe that the Eagles just told him no offer?
You got one more year remaining. If you think you can find some, we'll talk after this year. Your play was down. I'm just looking at it as a business side. Say this is what they did. Yeah, you didn't play that. Like, we didn't get enough from you this year. We have you under contract at $15 million. You know, he signed $345. We have you under $15 million. We think that's adequate pay for you. We could revisit this after next season. If you're not,
when you're a free agent, yeah.
Yeah, or let's say during the season. But if you're not satisfied with that, then go ahead and shop yourself elsewhere.
Pat, do you believe, which scenario do you believe? Like, Bob just put a fictional one out there. I put a fictional one out there. What are you leaning towards?
I think that they definitely traded a couple of contract extension offers. They haven't really been to Reddick's liking, and this is like a negotiating tactic of, all right, man, if you don't like it, you can seek a trade. And they're hoping that he comes back and either hasn't found a market. I mean, my big fear is that, like, he does find a trade. Like, it's like, okay, well, the Chicago Bears, who have, a bunch of cap space, they could use a guy of my services, and they're willing to offer this. And then next thing you know, it's like, all right, well, I guess we'll take a 5th-round pick for you. That's my big fear. I do think it's a pissing contest, and you're waiting for someone to zip with a fly up.
It is wondering, I mean, hey, James Bradbury, you can go seek a trade. Like, it's a little different when guys have numerous years to go on a deal than when guys have one. I have no problem, though, with Tom in Alabama what I was telling him. I have no problem with an NFL player with 1 year left on their deal who is one of your better players saying, I want security past this year.
Oh, no question.
There's
Because
no problem at all.
We don't. Yeah, I mean, we get upset if there's a manager or coach that's a lame duck guy.
Now, in baseball, I don't, though. In baseball,
I thought you did. I thought you said before.
In baseball, it depends. If you signed a long-term deal with tons of security and remember, every dollar is secure. The Eagles could still get out of money for paying Haason Reddick money this year. They could still get out of some of that, if they wanted to. In baseball, when it's fully guaranteed, I do feel a little bit different about that one. When a guy's in his 30s, it's different when he's, a younger guy. I want him to see him locked down and make him feel good.
And for anyone like Tom who is annoyed by the timing of it, Haason Reddick could have made this way messier than it needed to be.
I agree with you.
Because he was asked about it in training camp.
Yes.
And he said, yeah, basically, like, I wanted a contract extension, but this is a business, and I'm just going to go out there and do my job. And he did. And you never heard about it again until today, or yesterday. So you went from September until February, and you didn't hear hide nor hair from Haason Reddick about wanting a contract, about any of that. Like, he did play the good soldier. So I don't have a problem with him wanting to get paid, and the timing of it leaking out is the timing. Like, whatever. But no, the idea of Haason Reddick going, I know you guys are going through tough times right now, but I want to trade. No, that didn't happen.
Later in the show today, you're going to hear from Sixers president Daryl Morey as he joins us at 9:30. So you will hear from Daryl Morey, and we will get answers to some questions. And one question that I want Bob to answer for us is, what are the Sixers thinking with Kyle Lowry? We'll get to that coming up. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update. One Burlington, Philadelphia, a Beasley Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios, powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Remember, Daryl Morey joins us at 9:30 on the show this morning. And we appreciate him making time for us today. We appreciate you making time for the John Kincade Show every morning that you can. Those of you who are listening on the app, we see you. Busy week last week on the app. We appreciate all the people that are checking in on that, and also to our YouTube audience. Good morning to you. I want to give a congratulations out to one of our listeners, Noah, our friend Noah, who last year was part of our jury. I don't want to give Noah's last name out on the air in case he doesn't want it. Noah won our Yahoo Pick'em poll. It came down to Noah in the championship, as he was one of the last two, and they came down to had a chance to win. And there was the end between Noah and Dave. And Noah edged out Dave with a win in the Super Bowl last night. So Noah is the champion. Noah, we're going to find out with Todd. Find something that's very appropriate for you as our champion, and congratulations.
Good job, Noah.
We have an arc we can give away.
He did a really
horrible job.
He did a really good job.
It's a horrible, horrible joke by me. I apologize for that.
That's okay.
It wasn't my best work.
And he lives in Florida, Noah. So he's a Philly guy through and through, but he lives in Florida. So, I mean, he's a loyal expatriate that listens every single day.
We have a couple, like Kristen from Florida.
Right, Kristen's down there?
Yeah, like we have a couple of Florida residents. Angel, who listens to us. Yeah, it's funny how you head down there, and like when we would go down with Philly sports trips, yeah, a lot of people are traveling with Vince and stuff, and then you meet a lot of people who are like, no, I just live down here.
Pat, when I say to you there was not one day, and I'm being honest with you, from the onset of apps, there was not one day that I was in my car that I did not listen to Philly sports radio while I was doing sports radio in a city 750 miles south. There was not one day that I wouldn't check in, hear something about the Phillies, hear something about the Eagles, just to get a fix. And we appreciate everybody who does. So congratulations to Noah, who edged out Dave for the championship. Todd DeFeo, our own Todd, he finished 5th, and I finished 11th. In the standings. I tried to catch Todd. Couldn't do it. So
Todd Father's tough, man.
Todd is tough.
Once he gets that lead, he doesn't give it up.
Last year I finished 2nd in this. I was a little disappointed to go to 11th, but I'm going to regroup, maybe fire a GM or two, and we'll get after it. All right, let's get down to it here. Bob, what is the story, or better yet, I hate to poison the well, but what is the fascination with Kyle Lowry being a part of the Philadelphia 76ers, and it appears he will be a part of this team maybe as soon as later this week?
Yeah, so he got bought out by the Charlotte Hornets Saturday, it appears. Now the Sixers, he has to go through waivers, and within the next couple of days, the Sixers can sign him, I believe, for like $2.5 million for the rest of the year. Yeah, I don't know. I've tried.
I need you to have the answer to this.
I hated the fact that having seen him play in high school, having covered, some of his games in college, all those things that I love about Kyle Lowry, a dog. I remember when I was covering the team years ago and being on Daily News Live and pleading, I would love for that dog mentality to be here. That's what I called him when he played for Toronto. He's just a dog. And it was right after he came in and he just tortured them in a fourth quarter. And he just had that mentality that you love. Then as he got older, it turned a little bit and it kind of became more of, wow, why is Kyle Lowry always complaining and always working the refs and always, it just leaves like oh man, I hope this isn't a guy closing out his career with just complaining all the time. And you look at it and you say, is it a guy that I'd love to have on my team, but I hate when he's on an opponent? I guess that's the way the Sixers are looking at it. And it's not a lot of money. And he's not coming in here for his basketball now, his basketball skills. I guess they're having him in here for leadership stuff. And if that's the case,
Didn't you have
For
somebody in the
whom?
locker
For
room
what?
that already did that?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, you can label, like I said, this whole leadership thing, whatever. Obviously, there's a connection, and this is a little bothering me. Daryl Morey does love to go back to the well, doesn't he? Guys
Familiarity.
guys that he's had in the past, and they come back. And look, there could be something greatly missing that Nick Nurse sees, and that Kyle Lowry will cover that up, or
Really?
But I don't know. I don't know. Now, listen, we're going to have Daryl Morey on at 9:30. Being as he's been bought out by the Charlotte Hornets, Kyle Lowry now has to clear waivers. We don't know. We're checking into it, and I'm asking the Sixers now to see if Daryl Morey can talk about Kyle Lowry, because there's a chance he's not allowed to.
I would imagine it would still be tampering since he's going to have to go with waivers.
So just to let our listeners know, and we'll let you know more as it gets closer to the interview, there's a chance he's not able to talk about it as much as we want to ask him about it. He just might not be allowed to per, league rules. But just quite frankly, John, great. I love having the guys back. I'm having Marcus Marsh here and talking to him a few times over the last few weeks. God, he just loved being here, and I thought he helped the team a little bit and all that. I quite frankly, until we talk to Daryl Morey and he changes my mind, I don't really understand it.
If you're turning back the clock, if you told me it's 2020 and you're going after Kyle Lowry or something, I'm all ears. 2024?
Yeah.
I just don't understand it. But I do, and weirdly though, Pat, I do trust Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse has done enough already to make me say, if he feels that there's something this guy can offer, he knows him, and I doubt he would just be like, hey, I want to do this guy a favor.
I think the Nick Nurse angle is a big part of this. I think Nick Nurse's comfortability with Kyle Lowry. I think Kyle Lowry's comfortability with Nick Nurse. I mean, obviously Kyle's from here, so that helps. But I think Nick Nurse probably pushed to get Kyle Lowry in a Sixers uniform. I'm kind of with you guys. Like, it pains me to say it because, he's a Doherty brethren, but we brought it up before the move even happened. I kind of would rather have had Pat Bev at this point, just because Kyle Lowry just seems like he's a little bit cooked. But it's going to be interesting to see how Nick Nurse handles him. Maybe you can, get a little bit more out of that stone and see if you can zap a little bit more talent out that he didn't really show in Miami. He got paid, and then there's a reason why they traded him to Charlotte. So I'm a little worried about the player they're getting, but the move itself, it's no risk. I just don't like the fact that I feel like you ushered out Patrick Beverley, who was perfect for this team.
Ushered? Very good, Pat.
I didn't mean it that way, but yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, but you traded him out, and I felt like you might have gotten a slight downgrade. Not a huge downgrade, but a slight downgrade.
But his replacement is Cameron Payne.
Okay.
So, you know what I mean?
I don't know enough about Cameron Payne's game to give you a breakdown. So yeah, you would know better than I would.
Well, we saw a little bit of it this weekend. He is younger, fresher legs, better scorer. Hopefully can give you as much on the defensive end as Pat Bev did. I never
looked for Pat Bev to score. That's the thing.
Yeah, I know, but
energy off the bench.
Yeah, I think you can get that plus the scoring maybe with campaign. So
okay.
I'm okay with that. I came to that resolution this weekend. I'm okay with that. You said, it's funny, Pat, real quick, and not to interrupt you, but you said player when you talked about what the player is that you're getting. I think player is way down on the list.
You just think it's leadership?
It's got to be something. You do have campaign. You do have, you're fine at the guard. I don't see Kyle Lowry coming in here and giving you 12, 15 minutes a night. Do you?
No.
Yeah,
he better not be. He better not be.
So you brought up the whole campaign and he's younger and fresh and all that. Then I got to ask him why did Milwaukee not only give him up but add in a pick as well to acquire Patrick Beverley?
I don't know.
Well, I think they were I think Doc was saying immediately that what Pat Bev could bring to his locker room was missing.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
And that was a locker room, by the way, that mutinied on their head coach and threw him under the bus 40 games into his career.
I don't know if you guys noticed over the weekend, but Patrick Beverley played his first game for the Bucks, and he immediately started grabbing the clipboard.
I did. I saw that.
It was kind of awesome.
And then
but
Doc kind of grabbed it back casually. But yeah, he did.
I missed it, though. I was like, I want that. So hopefully, Bob, you're right, because the leadership thing that that Patrick Beverley brought to this team was a big reason of why I wanted to keep him. Not necessarily scoring wise, but it was more defense, energy off the bench, and then the leadership thing. If Kyle Lowry can replace that, then all right, fine, that's cool.
There we go. So
like Payne, here's ideally. Payne played 21 minutes on Saturday night off the bench and was a plus 14 while giving you a little bit of points. I forget what he had, like 6 or something like that. But, like, I think that's what they're looking for. Energy off the bench, not as old, maybe a guy that you can rely on for a little bit more scoring than Patrick Beverley and still give you that good defense.
Look, like I had to go and watch YouTube and research campaign because I had not been watching what he was doing in the NBA. But one thing is clear: he's better than Patrick Beverley. He's a better player than he's a better shooter than Patrick Beverley, which this team desperately needs shooters, and he's a better player at this point. And he's got younger legs, and he's got to me, look, Pat Bev is great as far as just a lead, maybe a leader, that coach on the court, those type of things. But what they got as a player, I don't think it's a question that they upgraded the roster as a player. Talent-wise, you can get more. You can squeeze more juice out of the lemon.
That's the hope.
Yes.
That is the hope.
And they're hoping hopefully that will be what we get to see. 7 o'clock hour, the new Bet Parks app. And I say new because it's always changing. It's always got new stuff for you. And just because football's going into hibernation doesn't mean the Bet Parks app doesn't have great stuff for you. Sportsbook and casino in one sleek, easy-to-use app in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, and Maryland. We appreciate Bet Parks for being a part of our 7 o'clock hour. So we move on to the 2024 football season already. It really is. I mean, there is something that about changing over. This is a day of, I guess, football depression for a lot of people. But one thing I found really interesting this weekend, and Chase Sr., proud Temple Owl, did the interview that we played the soundbite the other day from Britton Covey, where he was talking about the idea of what caused the Eagles season to go off the rails and really what was the problem.
I definitely think we got emotionally tired from trying to figure out what the problem was. And we kept trying to pinpoint it at this and pinpoint it at this. And there was some miscommunication, I think, from coaches to players. There was some pointing fingers from player to player. And there was kind of letting, outside voices impact our love for the game and just the happiness that we had. And all that combined to really just kind of make us spiral. But honestly, I think that you're going to see a team this year that is going to be like, I'm not letting that same thing happen. And I'm not saying like just on the field performance, but I'm not letting that impact me. I'm not letting this impact me. And I think you're going to see a lot more resilient people, players because of it.
Chase, a proud Ruston High School graduate out of Westchester and Temple University.
More importantly, he was a former intern at 97.5 The Fanatic.
That's even better. And he did a good job catching up with Britton Covey. I've received information that Britton Covey's getting grief about speaking out on the Eagles. And I laugh. I laugh. So Britton Covey's the guy who chose to be honest with us, who chose to really tell us what was going on behind the scenes. Instead of the, sunshine lollipops and unicorn farts that we got out of Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox, and Brandon Graham. About how, oh, man, what a great guy it is to play for Nick Sirianni. What a great coach and a great guy and everything awesome. And I found it strange, and I kept bringing it up. It is strange to me that three guys who are either 1 foot out the door or out the door are the ones saying, Nick Sirianni, man, great job. And the guys who are staying, the biggest leaders in the team who are staying, you hear nothing of the sort. Jalen Hurts was literally confronted about not giving the vote of endorsement to his head coach. Confronted with it directly and didn't do it and chose not to do it. To me, Britton Covey, thank you. Thank you for some honesty. And then I hear that it's, well, I don't know what a punt returner's doing talking. In fact, there were former Eagles who on social media were saying, I don't know what a punt returner's doing talking about the status of the team. He was asked a question. He answered it honestly. And after all the sunshine and lollipops and BS that we got out of the Eagles after their collapse this year, Britt and Covey, I thank you for having a backbone. And by the way, you didn't speak out of turn. You spoke your experience and what you saw and what you felt. And if anybody in that locker room has a problem with it, sounds like a little bit of a soft approach to me. You want to lie to the fans? You want to answer a question honestly? He didn't trash the Eagles organization at all with that.
Well, you wanted to hear somebody trash them. You got it, so now you think he's telling the truth and the other guys were lying. Jason Kelce might think that Nick Sirianni's a great coach. Fletcher Cox, said, things didn't go well, but I still have confidence in him. A.J. Brown said, it was on us. We didn't perform. We weren't put in the right places, but I still trust the coaches. That's probably not what you wanted to hear after they lost 7 games straight, so you're going to say, oh, that's bull crap. And then Covey comes out and says, there was some finger pointing between players and coaches and players and all of that.
I don't think Covey's making stuff up, though.
Well, why do you think Kelce and those guys are making stuff up?
No, I think Kelce and them are selling Nick Sirianni. They like him. They like the guy.
They were asked what kind of a job he did, and they said he's a great coach.
Maybe
that's what they believe is all I'm saying.
It could be, but it's the guys who are coming back.
One guy that's coming back. A.J. Brown said it. He's coming back. Fletcher Cox, I don't know. Lane Johnson said it. He's coming back. Okay. Maybe he is telling the truth. I'm not saying he's not. But
Lane Johnson also told us that it was a crap show down the stretch to Dan Patrick.
Right.
That this team played.
Covey's not the only one that has said it.
But he also said their coaches had no answers.
Right.
Lane Johnson.
Yeah.
And so he's allowed to speak that, but Britt and Covey isn't?
Who said he wasn't allowed? He did.
Because Britt and Covey was getting grief, including former Eagles going after him on social media, saying, what is a punt returner talking for? Why is he having an opinion on this? As if, excuse me, so he's part of the team. He doesn't get to answer a question honestly. He's supposed to cover up for what he saw in that locker room. I don't understand it. Pat, your thoughts on that?
I appreciate his honesty. I didn't read too much into it. That's at this point, I'm kind of at the point I want to move on from last season and focus on next season. Bob's right. Maybe some of these guys do believe in Nick Sirianni and a punt returner talk. And that was kind of my first thought, honestly, was, the punt returner angle of it. It's ironic that a punt returner is the one that's kind of popping off. But I do appreciate the guy's honesty. I'm not surprised at what he's saying. I mean, something clearly went awry. If anyone's mad at him for being honest, I mean, look in the mirror at this point, I'm sure he would have rather been talking about a Super Bowl than talking about how the team just floundered down the stretch. But I'm ready to move on from it. I don't even want to think about last season at this point. It's too I'm just beaten down by it. It's too frustrating to think about where they could have been. And last night we talked about how you're sitting there watching the game, you're thinking about a silver lining and how sloppy that game was. And a few times I thought to myself, well, it wouldn't be any better if the Eagles had somehow managed to get to this point, because the offense would have been just as sloppy. We would have seen a sloppy Eagles offense in a sloppy game. You know what I mean? It couldn't have been oh man, well, if the Eagles had just somehow managed to get the Super Bowl, it would have been better. This would have been a better game. No, I really don't believe that, because that's how bad last season was.
Today's the day, though, Pat, to turn the page, right?
I'm trying to.
Or not.
I'm trying to, but then, we play the cut, and it just reminds you of all the bad memories that took place from, weeks, 12 on. It was gross.
I get you. I mean, and I most certainly understand where I most certainly understand where you're at. As far as that, to me, though, today's a day of feeling optimistic. It's a feeling of I feel like there's a little bit of a cleansing from all the crap that went down at the end of the year. I'm ready to move on.
It seemed like he was trying to do that. He said, I don't think.
I do too.
I don't think I think you're basically it's going to make us better. I don't think you're to see that next season. So I think he was trying to be honest about what his experience was, but then say, hey, we could use this in a positive, and we could, and it might end up helping us.
And it just shocked me that former players are going after him on Twitter.
I didn't see that.
Please, excuse me. He's got every right to answer a question honestly.
I didn't see that, but that's par for the course when you're special teamers. I feel like, kickers and punters and
Yeah,
they're
because
like second-class citizens in the league.
Oh, it is
yeah,
the
'cause
truth, too, by the way.
That's a training camp when linebackers and D-backs are going through it, and they look over in the other field and they see a long snapper, a punter, and a guy catching it.
Or the
and the guy
kickers.
catching it,
Yes.
yeah, and the kickers, but the guy catching it is a Brit and Covey. And they're saying, like, really, we're putting in our blood, sweat, and tears here. Yeah, go catch some pop-ups over there. So I
think he was one of their.
understand
I think he was one of their best weapons this year,
yeah.
and that's sad to say, but it really didn't
And he
work
didn't
out
get a
that
chance to get on the field because the defense couldn't make a stop to force the other team to punt.
A little bit too much of that. But interesting observation. If you have a thought on that and you wanted to jump in with us, 610-632-0975. Reminder that we will be joined a little bit later on this morning by Daryl Morey. He'll join us at 9:30. Make an appointment for that so we can hopefully have you have a chance to be a part of that conversation. So this weekend, what did we learn about the Sixers? And what are we going to learn in the next 6 games? Because it's sink or swim time. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
A Fanatic Monday is presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Your 76ers obviously trying to tread water and stay out of that play-in tournament until they can get Joel Embiid back. If they can get Joel Embiid back, one of the interesting questions we'll be able to ask Daryl Morey today when he comes up at 9:30. How much did Joel Embiid's health dictate what they did at the trade deadline? How are they expecting him back, or are they not expecting him back? Lots of questions. The one thing I know is the Sixers are trending towards the play-in tournament, which is a disaster. The Atlanta blowout the other night was ugly. They struggled to beat a really terrible Washington team. And in the next 6 contests, at Cleveland, Miami, the Knicks, Cleveland, Milwaukee, at Boston. So it's 2 road games as the buns, and the middle sandwich is 4 home games with the Heat, the Knicks, the Cavaliers, and the Bucks. 4 teams that will be potentially all ahead of you in the Eastern Conference standings. In the next 2 weeks, we could find out, Bob, whether this team is destined for the play-in tournament. It really is.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's weird. It's bad. I've never seen so much sickness. Well, I shouldn't say that. I covered the process.
Some of it was purposeful.
I haven't seen so much sickness and injury since the process was here and guys were out with newly created gastroenteritis and all of those type of things. But this is wild. Like, where's Nick Batum? All of a sudden, he's gone like forever. Guys getting sick, coming back. The Anthony Melton. We talk about Joel Embiid all the time. If they were going to stay above water, and we said this like last week, they needed the team to be healthy. They're not even close to healthy without Joel Embiid. And look, is Nick Batum an answer to any questions? No, but he's a piece that this team needs. And now that you've totally recreated this team, they need to play together. And you're throwing out lineups with Ricky Council IV and, different guys like that. And it's like, wait, where are they? The sad or the hard part of it is for the 76ers is you don't have a 10-game luxury to find yourselves.
No.
You haven't afforded yourself that with this recent stretch of play and because of all these injuries. And it's getting damn close to that. That, like, these next 10 games, and they are hard games, are you going to be able to field a full team? The fact that Hield and Payne were able to get out on the floor on Friday night.
That was impressive, by the way. I didn't expect them both.
But I'm so glad you said that. It was impressive, but on the other side of it, it was necessary.
Oh, absolutely necessary.
If they didn't have those 2 guys, they were screwed just in a number standpoint. You would have been playing. Now, you have to I think you have to have 8 guys available in the NBA to have a game. They were, like, right there. So
what do you have to forfeit? They were talking about that on the radio the other night.
We have 2-way contract guys that are down in Delaware, so you can bring them up and all. And, you can get a guy and say he's ready to play even though he might not be. But, yeah, that's where you are right now. You got to get really healthy really quick. And that's not even talking about Joel Embiid.
It's scary, Pat. It's a scary thing because the play-in tournament is not the path.
No, it's not. Not ideal. Not ideal. Not great, Bob. We're not doing great. But, in a weird way, like, I didn't hate Saturday being able to see some of the depth guys. Like, seeing, like, I know, like, Bob, you said, like, they're starting Ricky Council IV, but I kind of like seeing what they have there because I just haven't. I'm still in Doc Rivers mode where you wouldn't see that. Like, he would have went into that game going, yeah, okay. We only have, like, 7 players. The starters are going to play 38 minutes. And I kind of like the fact that Nick Nurse recognizes, all right, look, I don't have a lot of guys, so let's just get everybody some run and see what we got, and maybe we can see something. That's what I liked before the deadline. In this situation, I think ideally he wouldn't want to do that. I think he'd want to shorten his bench, but maybe you can see if he got something here because this is like what the Heat do. Everybody wants to model the Heat way. Right. This is exactly what they do. They find guys at Lowe's Home and Garden Center. They sign them into 10-day contracts or whatever, 2-way deals. And then, in games like Saturday where you're playing a bad opponent and guys are injured, you don't just sit them on the bench. You give them a little bit of run and see what they can do. And Ricky Council IV answer the bell.
Yeah, that's all well and good if you're winning 8 of 10 and not losing 8 of 10 to me. I hear you, and I know you're going to die on that hill, and I'm not.
I will not
past
die
it.
on that hill. Don't have me dying.
Yeah, you're going to get tired on that hill. I hear you, and I agree with looking at it, but, man, you got to win games now. And looking at the younger guys, great. Look at them when you're up 20. Don't look at them because you don't have anybody else to play. They're in a tough spot right now. Now, they're still 10 games over 500, which is good. But you got a stretch here coming of Cleveland, Miami, New York, Cleveland, Milwaukee, Boston. I mean,
it's terrible.
That's tough. So I don't know where this is going. You have to get healthy, and we'll talk to Daryl Morey about it. But this is a trying time for them.
I would say that we're gonna learn all we need to learn. But if they drop to the play-in tournament, then I'm just sort of looking towards 2024 and 25, and that's a bummer to me. That's gonna be a real bummer. It's just
I unfortunately I feel like I've resigned myself to that, looking ahead towards next season because of everything you guys laid out. The play-in tournament, the team itself being without Joel Embiid. If he comes back, what Joel Embiid are you actually getting? I'm kind of like, all right, just look ahead. And I hate the fact that I'm at that mode, but I don't see a path where this team currently could get to the Eastern Conference Final. And that sucks.
And I hate that too.
Yeah, it sucks sitting here in February going like, all right, I'm sitting here with the Eagles and the Sixers going, all right, next season. But they could change some things. They could shock me. Wouldn't be the first time. But looking at their February slate, it's killers. Like I did it over the weekend. There's a realistic chance they exit February with 2 wins because and it's not necessarily the talent that they have. It's not even like who they're missing. It's combine all of that with who they're playing, and they're playing killers. Like you've got Boston, Milwaukee, New York, Cleveland tonight. Teams that not only are playoff teams, but high-seeded playoff teams. I don't know how this team beats those teams.
I don't know how many they could in the next 6. I don't know how many.
And they might. I brought it up last week, but they're a Tyrese Maxey 50-piece away from having probably 1 win in February, because it took everything for that team, including him dropping 50+ for them to beat Utah in Utah. So, it's not great. Just looking at like the timing of this injury and when it happened and all of it, it probably couldn't have happened in a worse month in terms of where your goal is.
It's a bad story. It's a bad story, Pat. It's a bad story. And it's bad energy. And coming off of the Eagles season, that wasn't very good either. The timing of it is just not very good. When we say today looks at it differently. Pat, you seem like you're in a little bit of a little bummer. The season's over, and now you're thinking about the long stretch until the season begins next. I'm looking at it as a turn the page. I'm looking at it as today is the first day towards looking towards next year and what this offseason plan is going to be, free agency, draft, and otherwise, because I just can't think back to this season anymore. It's driving me crazy, like Pat is, about PTSD of what went on. But Bob can put a bow on all of it for us in words that are all his own in a Cooney's column.
Let's turn the page and find out what's in Cooney's column.
When you're looking for entertainment during a Super Bowl, if you can disregard the overhyped commercials and the wonderful halftime entertainment, it usually comes down to the offensive performances of the teams involved. As Philadelphia sports followers, we've been spoiled in recent years as the Eagles have been involved in 2 of those Super Bowls over the past 7 seasons and have been part of 2 of the best games during that time. The win over the Patriots in Super Bowl 52 was one of the most entertaining offensive displays a Super Bowl has ever produced in the 41-33 contest. And last year's 38-35 loss to the Chiefs was another thrilling moment in what is sure to be many during the career of Patrick Mahomes. Sunday night in Las Vegas, we were, quotes here, treated to the 49ers and Chiefs vying for NFL supremacy, with many great storylines surrounding the game. There was the Mahomes and Andy Reid thing trying to repeat, the Kelce Tay-Tay thing, Brock Purdy and a vaunted San Francisco offense, the offensive genius of 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, and all that followed. And then the game began. And before Usher and friends were able to crush the halftime show, the 2 teams showed that they were miles ahead of the Eagles, and it isn't the best news you'd want to hear. The defenses of both teams that participated in Super Bowl 58 are ones that could do anything and everything much, much better than the Sean Desai, Matt Patricia-led 11 that seemed to never be in the better positions that their coaches promised and tackled with all the ability and want of a kicker being the last line of defense on a big return. When righted, if righted, I do have confidence the Eagles offense could compete at the same level as those 49ers and Chiefs that participated last night. However, I also think that those 49ers and Chiefs offense that were on the field last night could have put a 40 spot or more against this Eagles defense. Take a look at Howie. Take a look at it, Howie. Linebackers were flying all over the field. Defensive linemen were playing to the game plan and flourishing in it. Corners and safeties were difference makers both in coverage and getting to the quarterback. Howie, go get some guys like that. And don't go into next season thinking your offense is just going to outscore other teams. Because if last night proved anything, defense still plays a huge part in winning championships.
Good job. Good
Put
bow on it. There's a bow on it.
There it is.
That's a bow on it. I think you do have, Pat. You almost have to. I know somebody who burned their wedding video when they got divorced. When they got divorced.
Okay. I mean,
wow.
They burned their copy of their wedding video, and I said to the person at the time, "That's really stupid because you have children." And I worked with him, and he was like, "Well, I have no interest in seeing it. They can see it from their mother, I guess." And but some people need something dramatic you may need something dramatic to put this season behind you.
Yeah. All right. So, let's just unpack everything you just said there. As a kid of divorce, I will tell you, I've never wanted to watch my parents' wedding video. So I think you're wrong on that aspect. All right. This isn't a Disney show where I tried to get my parents back together. No.
A parent trap?
Oh, it's better off that they're far, far apart. But yeah, sometimes you do need that dramatic cleansing. I remember when Temple finally beat Penn State in 2015.
Oh.
Penn State responded by saying we're burying the tape, and they literally went out to a field, took the game tape,
and dug
a hole and buried it. And it's it was a symbolic thing of moving on, moving past it, and it's a little Nick Sirianni-ish, but yeah, maybe you need something. Maybe you need something to you can point at.
I respected it, by the way.
You respected what they did?
When they did that.
I don't respect anything Penn State did.
No, I know, but I did
Nope.
sort of respect it because they walk the walk and talk the talk and walk the walk.
No, I wanted them to watch that tape on repeat and know how much Temple hurt them.
Well, Sackenberg was really impressive.
Oh, what a great game.
That was a great day.
But no, I think it could be a bonding thing for some people, a cleansing symbolic thing that, a lot of people will roll your eyes at, and then you go yeah, but it might have brought people closer together.
I'm into it, Bobby. I'm into the positivity of moving on. I really do. I will be, Pat. We said we were the three bears earlier on the whole Haason Reddick story.
Yes, Goldilocks.
I will tell you right now, I am the three. I am, who is it? Baby Bear? I guess I'm Baby Bear in this.
Well, I think
just right. Things are just right.
Clearly, Papa Bear.
And I look at it as
You're clearly Papa
he's
Bear?
the one. Papa Bear was it's too cold. It's in the middle, and then it's just right. I think it was Baby Bear.
Yeah, you're in the middle, bud.
I don't know. My parents never read to me. So
You're middle child bear.
I look at it as I am very confident. If you told me what will 2024 be, I think 2024 is going to be closer to 2022 than 2023.
I can't go there.
It's okay. They can show you moves, though. They can show you moves that can get you there, right?
Yeah, they can show me moves that has a linebacker playing where he's supposed to be so that tight ends aren't coming across the middle wide open and running for 30 yards. They can show me defensive ends that have a game plan as far as getting to the quarterback as opposed to trying to beat a guy who's 40 pounds heavier one-on-one each and every play. They can show me game plans of safeties and corners that are playmakers. Sure, they can show me that stuff, and I'll be real happy, John. But I'm not kidding when I said in the column, that those teams last night battling as hard as they did against each other's defense, those offenses would have put 40 or 50 up against the Eagles. No
question.
Problem. Eyes closed.
Hey, coming up, Philly Sports Troops is giving away a trip for two to MetLife Stadium this Saturday to watch the Orange and Black in the 2024 Stadium Series, all courtesy of PhillySportsTrips.com. You can ride to the game in a luxury bus. You enjoy an amazing tailgate with top-shelf food and drink, and then you catch all the action. Visit 975thefanatic.com for another chance to win. Go to 975thefanatic.com. Check out some of our social media, too. Some of the columns that are up there and everything. Click on some of those. We appreciate it. Or you can book your trip at phillysportstrips.com. This Saturday is the trip where you travel with the pros. This Wednesday on the show, we will give away a sweetheart of a deal, a trip for two to go see the Flyers play the Devils this Saturday. Now I ask you this, Pat, because it was brought to my attention yesterday.
Yes.
Yesterday on February 11th, the Flyers woke up 7 points clear of a playoff spot, 7 points secure in a playoff spot, because they were the team that's 6 points behind them has far less wins, the Islanders. That's the biggest buffer they had on the playoffs, the biggest buffer that they had in this new year. Their condition is getting better, not worse. Do you start to dream a little bit or not?
No, I'm not dreaming about anything. No. They're continuing strong play, but no, I'm not sitting here getting grandiose ideas of what they should do at a deadline or whatnot.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about the deadline. I'm just talking about the playoffs.
I mean,
you can start to dream now.
Yeah, you can start to think, okay, this team is not going away, and
there's a chance they could be.
I mean, there's absolutely a chance. They've given themselves a chance. The deadline should be interesting to see what they do, but every game that goes by that they continue to win, the price of these players is going up. And I mean, it's a win-win. I mean, in both ends for Danny Briere and company, because you don't have to sell. Whereas before it was like you're kind of an idiot if you don't sell and you're 10 points out of a playoff spot. Now they have the luxury of going, okay, look, I mean, we can make the playoffs, get these guys valuable experience. So Scott
trade him in the offseason.
Scott Lawton's going to cost you a lot at the deadline. Like, he's going to cost you more. Every win that this team racks up, the price of some of these players that they might look to usher out.
Usher again, Pat. Very good.
I don't know why I'm doing it. But like a Scott Walker, I mean, your price is going up, because then you can have the luxury of saying, well, we don't want to move them.
We don't have to move them.
No, we're looking to win this year, and even though the reality is they're looking ahead, they're looking a year or two down the road.
It's time though, Bob. It's time to say you're 7 points up on a playoff berth. It's time to say, look, this doesn't what we can all maybe have a disagreement on what to do at the trade deadline, whatever. I don't want to see them buy, and I would be okay with them selling a couple strategic parts if necessary. But it's all right now to say this Flyers team is in position to have a good shot to be able to make the playoffs in the East.
They're in a position that few Philadelphia professional sports teams are ever in.
What's that?
They can do no wrong. Right now, the Flyers can do no wrong. What happens? They lose a few games? Okay, young team. They're just looking for a foundation. They're looking to find how they're going to grow, whatever. They make the playoffs. Oh, my God, that's way ahead of what you thought they were going to be. They get rid of some players that maybe fans, have like a Lawton and all that stuff, but they're doing it for the future of the team. So even people that might say, oh, are you kidding? You're getting rid of a really good player? The argument comes back to, it's not about now.
It's not about this year,
They are in a spot that they can do no wrong. They really can't. The only wrong they could do, and they're not going to do it because they've told us that, is buy, because they think they're going to do something in this, playoffs or whatever. That's not going to happen. So they are literally in a position that we find very, very, very few teams in, of all the professional teams throughout our lifetime, that they can do no wrong right now.
That's a great observation.
The previous regime under Chuck Fletcher would have bought.
Yes, they would have bought.
You would have seen a first-round pick just ushered out of here.
And God rest his soul and all that. Ed Snyder, same thing, right? Full scold is what one coach I used to cover always called it.
Ed Snyder was so blood-hungry to get a cup before he passed
God bless
away.
him for it. Yeah,
and I don't blame him for doing it, but he made rash decisions. Like, we need Ilya Brizgalov and usher out that 22-year-old
Usher
Russian
again.
goalie. Did it again. I'm done.
You keep ushering today.
I don't know why. I didn't even watch the halftime show. I watched the last 10 minutes or 5 minutes of it. I didn't even catch the full thing.
Really?
No, I took a shower.
Usher. Usher's
I need
got
to
you
cleanse
going.
myself of that disgusting first half that I took a shower, and now I can't stop saying Usher.
I think it is so.
Yeah.
I think it's so awesome that that they're in this position. By the way, tonight, the Flyers and the Arizona Coyotes tonight, the team that plays in a high school stadium. Well, it's college stadium, but it's high school stadium. You'll have that action tonight right here on the Fanatic. The Flyers win going in the All-Star break, win 5 and then lose 5, and then have won 3 straight after the All-Star game. By the way, picking up 2 wins against really, really good teams and then beating the Kraken on Saturday night. To me, it shows John Tortorella has gotten this team past the shock value of what Carter Hart's situation brought to that clubhouse, brought to that locker room. And he's gotten them past it, and he's gotten them refocused. They got energized again, and it's exciting to see. So congratulations to them being in the mix, and hopefully, I'm going to put it this way. The Flyers can save the spring. They can save the spring for Philadelphia sports fans. It would be fun as hell. Whether they could win a series or not, I don't give a damn. To see them in the playoffs would be a lot of fun. It'd be fun.
I agree. And, you know, they could be one of those, we talk about this a lot, one of those teams that people are like, that's not a team you really want to face. They have nothing to lose. And they don't. And it's a learning situation for a lot of them. And Tortorella will, treat it as such. It'll be a fun time. And, I had people coming back to me saying, no, they can make mistakes. They can hold on to a lot of play. I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to make mistakes, and I think it's easy. It's an easy road that they can do nothing wrong.
All right, this guy got surgery the other day. And what does it mean to this team that has dreams of having a much better spring? That's next. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Remember to be back for Daryl Morey coming up at 9:30 today. You'll hear him give us some answers on what's going on. Obviously, Super Bowl last night. Some of the other things we're talking about this morning, and lots more in the course of the show today. Bobby?
Brendan Gunn just reminded me of a hard time in my high school years, playing days.
What happened?
Brendan Gunn. Isn't that funny?
I love Brendan.
So Brendan's girlfriend's father and I played against each other in high school. So Brendan just said to me, "Did you play against the new DePaul basketball coach?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, Matt Brady just got named interim."
Okay.
I said, "Yeah, I did." He goes, I said, "Yeah, as a matter of fact, he hit me with an elbow," and I showed him the scar that I have or whatever. He goes, "Yeah, my girlfriend's dad told me about that. He said it was the hardest elbow he ever heard." And he goes, he wasn't sure if it was you he hit or somebody else. And I said, "Oh, no, it was me." Yeah, I had a piece of my lip hanging out for a good week.
All because of him.
Oh, he was
Bastard.
a great player.
He's a great player, eh?
Oh, my God. Yeah, he was so good. But, yeah, he hit me with a pretty wicked elbow. And
So now
Brendan
you're cheering against DePaul, huh?
Brendan just reminded me.
DePaul's.
No, Matt's a great guy. Wish him the best. Longtime assistant coach at St. Joe's. He was a big part of when they had that team with Jameer Nelson and all.
Oh, yeah, I remember
under
him.
Phil
Yes.
Martelli. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was head coach down at James Madison for a little bit, and now he was an assistant at DePaul. They let go of their coach, and they made him interim coach. So Paul Six High School, great player and a really good coach.
All right, Joe
And a
enjoyed
good elbow thrower.
Joe enjoyed the Super Bowl last night. Welcome to the Fanatic, Joe. Good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, so I was hearing you guys talk about the Super Bowl and everything like that, and I was thinking to myself, I really enjoyed this new overtime rules. Like, I remember watching it before, first team comes out as a score, field goal ends it type thing like that, but having it be in the two periods plus, both teams guaranteed to get a chance to score, I mean, that I love that.
I think it's what it always should have been.
Probably.
I honestly think both teams getting a chance is always what it should have been. I hate college overtime, where they put it on the 25 and I hate that format. I enjoy this one very, very much, and I can't believe Kyle Shanahan decided I want offense first, because that makes no logical sense to me in an overtime.
Who does that?
I don't understand it.
Like, I don't understand either. Who does that? Who doesn't want to get the ball after you find out what you need?
I like it that Kyle screwed up like that, Joe, because I can't stand Kyle. So I was very happy when he did it. I couldn't believe it. When they said San Francisco's getting the ball, I thought San Francisco had the opportunity to decide, and then they explained it, and Tony Romo mumbled through a horrible explanation.
I'll tell you, yeah, I've told you guys before, I don't really listen all that much to announcers. I did also tell you before that I liked Romo. When I didn't think Romo had a good game last night.
I didn't either.
He was saying the same things over and over again, and I don't know if the graphics weren't going along with what he was saying, but when he was trying to point something out, it wasn't there, and he's like, "Yeah, and you'll see, this guy went over here, and he didn't." He wasn't Super Bowl-ish.
You know what? A great night was the guy from Telemundo. Guy was dialed in. He was locked in.
Did you have your Babbel? Is that what it's called, Babbel, where you learn languages?
Yeah,
and
Babbel. No, I did
you have
not.
that out?
No,
Because Pat didn't learn it at Newman or back at Docker.
No,
I
did
was
not.
going to visit Bikini Bottom at one point.
I went over there for about a minute and a half, 2
Did
minutes.
you?
I don't like SpongeBob. I was not a
love
SpongeBob guy. I miss SpongeBob. It just averted me. So I've never been a SpongeBob guy. I think the idea is awesome. For kids learning the game, I think it's so cool. The Toy Story thing Disney did, love it.
That was cool, yeah.
But for me, it was I got to tell you, like, watching half the game in Spanish was fun. It made like a bad game somewhat enjoyable. And you were able to pick up on everything. Like, I figured out what they were doing. I mean, when a guy's sitting in front of the blue tent and he's, you figured
it out.
Yeah, and then he's,
and then you hear a name.
Yeah, you're
Debo
like,
Samuel.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, okay, so he's in the blue tent. Like, I don't need to know Spanish to know he's in the blue tent. And they show the him going down with an injury. Okay, I can figure that out. But I mean, the first half, like, Romo was driving me. And I'll be honest, it's Romo and Nance for me, because I'm not a huge Jim Nance fan either. And part of it probably is the combination of the two. But I've never been a big Jim Nantz fan when it comes to football. And having them both do it, I was like, I'd rather watch the game in a language I don't speak.
Jim is non-intrusive to me as a play-by-play guy, so I sort of admire that. I think he lets his analysts do the analysis, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a great broadcast last night. So I will tell you, too, that a lot of people have really bad moments on Twitter. And there were lots of guys from our industry that have I just think Twitter is I've heard people describe it sometimes as a cesspool, and I can tell it's I can tell it's an election year now because Philadelphia sports media has decided they're now all going to tell me how to vote, what to think, all those kind of things, which drives me crazy. So I have to start to do what Pat has suggested. There's mute buttons that are really, really good, and they're your friend. But it's the idea of this on Saturday. The word came out about Brandon Marsh needing surgery and that they had surgery. And immediately the tone turned accusatory. What the hell's he waiting for to have surgery? What's the problem? Why did he wait so long? Oh, my gosh. He could have had this surgery a couple months ago. I know everybody rushes to do 240 characters and everything. No, he couldn't. Because it honestly popped up in the past week. And that's why they had the surgery. He wasn't having the knee pain, and then he ends up finding he's having knee pain, and he gets it checked out, and they decide to do the surgery. The question is, just everybody can chill a little bit, especially with it. Like Brandon Marsh did not say, I'm going to have fun all this offseason, and now I'm going to go have surgery. He found out something came up. He went, he told the team doctors, they looked into it, they decided to go with surgery. So everybody just don't rush to 240 characters to hang Brandon Marsh out to dry. But the question is, what do the Phillies do with this situation? Because Brandon Marsh isn't going to be ready till the season's ready to begin. And that's going to take time, right? That's going to take some time.
Yeah, I mean, would it surprise you if he has to stay back in Clearwater and go through some more training while the team moves
at least
up
a few weeks
to play?
I would expect.
Yeah, all it did was, to me, and I had this as a subject last week, but we didn't get to it because we had such good fun talking about other things. But there is a lack of depth in that outfield position. And, we can say, Rojas is okay out there, is he? I mean, I love his fielding and all that. And if he's going to be your 9-hole hitter, I don't care really that much with this lineup if he hits 230, 240. Okay, but is it okay just to say he's an everyday outfielder a year after you certainly didn't think that, and he was only a starter for 60 games?
Yes.
But he did go through the playoffs. I hear you, but then after that, or if he slumps, or if he does normal rookie things, where's your backup plan? You don't have that guy off the bench. You don't have that outfielder.
They might think they do, and you're not going to like the answer.
I know. I don't.
Christian Pache.
I don't like the answer. I don't like that answer.
No, you don't like that answer.
Don't, but that's probably what they're looking at. And I think a lot of teams in Major League Baseball, that's the depth you probably look at that a lot of teams have is, questionable guys that fill in, barring injury. They're just kind of, playing probably one game every 5. That's it. And
that's how they get past.
Yeah, and the thing is, man, Christian Pache is cheap. He's cheap and he's young.
Yeah.
So you might think, all right, he's cooked. I mean, he's 25 at this point. All right, that's it. He's done. I've seen enough. They might look at it like we have a cheap player that when he came over to us, we saw a drastic improvement in all of his numbers.
Correct.
And maybe we could get him to a point where he's able to reach the bottom of what he was supposed to be when he was the guy traded for Matt Olson, when he was a top 100 prospect, when he was one of the Braves' top prospects in their system. So maybe they're looking at it like that. And also you have to figure that Justin Crawford is on his way. He's not going to be here next year.
No.
But he's on his way where you should be able to survive with a Christian Pache bench. To me, the guy that I don't want to see is Jay Cave. I'm done with Jay Cave.
Yeah.
That dude's 30. I mean, you want to talk about the book is out? The book is way out on Jay Cave. We know what Jay Cave is. I'm willing to give Christian Pache another year, but there's a very good chance because baseball is just a sport of failure that Bob's right, and Christian Pache ain't it.
I'll go against you on one thing, and I'll go against myself on another thing. You said a drastic change. He had 60 at-bats for the Phillies. I don't think you can call drastic
84
changes. I like, come on.
84
The guy's a career
at-bats.
230 hitter, and we're going to say he had drastic changes at 80 at-bats.
I think
so.
now
Like,
here's-
I just
Here's
no,
where
that's
you
just
don't
me.
know
Like
what
I
you're
said,
talking about, Bob, because he's a career 173 hitter.
I think
Oh,
he
is
did
he?
have. I think he did
My
have
fault.
drastic. I think it was drastic.
Really,
but it was a small.
nothing
But it was a
drastic can
small
happen at 80 at-bats.
But it was a small sample.
Well,
size.
then it can't be drastic. Small and drastic are exact opposites.
No,
Yes.
they're two, but they're,
Yes.
no, but they're two different things.
Look,
he had
monumentally different. Yeah.
He was a Bob. I tell you, I watched him from the minors in the Braves organization when I was down there to what they expected him to be. And as Pat says, if they can scrape, he right now would be. They expected him to be a everyday, not star, not Andrew Jones, not anything like that. But they expected him to be a solid major leaguer every day.
Good for
I don't
him.
believe they're going to get that out of
No.
him, but I do believe a fourth outfielder, they can survive and wait and see, June, July when the trade deadline comes around.
I
don't think it's a
guess,
necessity.
but it goes against what you're talking about, getting off to that fast start. So I go against you with drastic and 80 at-bats. I'll go against me and saying, well, if I said I'm okay with Rojas hitting 230 and batting ninth and giving you great defense, isn't that about the same thing? But, as you say, 173 to 230, is he going to climb 60 points in his batting average, meaning Christian Pache? I don't know. But I would like to see some better alternative than a Pache.
Well, I think you just described every Major League Baseball team's backup situation. I think it's pretty rare that any team goes in and says, oh, no, we have the best backup in the league at this
Best
position.
fourth outfielder.
Yeah, I mean, most teams right now are going, yeah, we could upgrade from our fourth outfielder. And the reason why is because if they were an upgrade, they'd probably be starting somewhere.
And they could throw Schwarber out and left and move Marsh over to center if Rojas gets, off balance and doesn't. See, the thing that I'm nervous about is just anointing Rojas, here you go, when he's only played like 60 major league games. Like, that's tough. That's not easy.
I think he is a N'Kobe Dean type story. But it is
that doesn't leave a good taste.
No,
in
but
my mouth.
it's a guy though that I think his skill set has already been shown on the biggest stage in the biggest moments. He's freaking spectacular with his glove.
Yeah.
I'm willing to, like Ricky Bo said, I'll throw him out there right now and just hope he hits 220 and just hope that you get something out of him. And hopefully this winter he's been able to turn a bit of a corner.
Oh, he's all swolled up now.
It looks like it.
Right, Pat? You saw the pictures of him.
He is yoked and then some, yeah.
Pat, what do you say? 20 pounds?
50.
50.
No, I have no idea, but he looks jacked. And I think I said it, I think a week ago, I think this team's good enough lineup-wise where, yeah, you can deal with whatever he's going to give you to learn his way in Major League Baseball. I severely miss the days when a prospect would come up and you used to throw him in the 8 or 9 hole
And let him
sink or swim.
Right, yes.
And it wasn't, we're going to sit you against lefties and we're only going to play against righties. And, oh, okay, we'll give you one pinch hit against the left. No, it was like you're getting a full season and we'll see what you got. And now it's like we got to coddle these guys to put them in the perfect position. And they did it with Marsh, where it was like you're sitting there going, can we figure out what this guy is? Is he just a guy where he's a platoon? Like, the platoon thing in Major League Baseball is an epidemic at this point because it's a forced epidemic. Teams won't let guys sink or swim, so they go, oh, well, he can only play against righties. Well, can he? Or have you just never given him the option to play against righties? That's why I want to see Rojas every day, because I want to see if he can be something or if he is simply a Christian Pache type where, yes, he's got elite speed, but really he's in there as a defensive replacement for his glove.
The worst part of Super Bowl 58 to me was thinking about Christmas and the Christmas storyline that kept coming up.
Where does your mind go during a game? I can't wait.
weird.
I can't wait to hear how this time ties in.
The commercials suck, so you might have to go somewhere.
I thought the commercials did suck, but they kept bringing up Travis Kelce talked to them in the pregame speech about Christmas. Patrick Mahomes said how Christmas was the turnaround. Andy Reid addressed them and said, I love you. I have confidence in you. I believe in you. Believe in yourselves after the Christmas loss. Christmas Day, we saw the Eagles play a crappy game Christmas night against the Giants that they somehow survived because they decided Tommy DeVito would be the starter for the Giants. It was a gift that gave the Eagles their only win in their last 7 games. But earlier that day, the beginning of that day, in the brutal cold, the Las Vegas Raiders went in and dominated the Chiefs on their home field and sent them to a loss that dropped them to 9-6. It was their 4th home loss of the season, which is unheard of, by the way, for a Super Bowl champion, to lose 4 games at home. And they were 9-6 after a 6-1 start. And they showed during the pregame show some of the headlines from the Kansas City newspapers, and one of them was, and that guy's probably out of a job today, toast. That the team was toast. They had given up on them. Some of the media members were like, this team's dead. This team doesn't have it. This team is just, something's going on. And then there was another one with Super Bowl hangover. They went with that storyline again, and they were a team that won. Instead, from that point on, from Christmas night, they didn't lose again. That was their launching off point. They didn't lose again. They beat Cincinnati. They beat the Chargers. And then they rampaged through the playoffs. By the way, one of the most impressive resumes of a Super Bowl champion ever. Beating Miami, beating Buffalo, beating Baltimore, and then beating San Francisco. When they faced adversity, when they got punched in the mouth, when they got humiliated, 4 home losses at Christmas, they lose a Christmas game when they're showcased. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. Their coaching staff came in with answers. Their players rallied around each other and faced the adversity and stared it down. That's what pissed me off the most watching Super Bowl 58, because my team, when they were faced with the same type of situation, but in a better position, already with more wins, 2 more wins at the time on Christmas night, my team folded like a cheap suit.
Yeah,
that's what bothered me about it most of all, the Chiefs story.
Yeah, and you're right, and that shows the distinct difference between them. I talked about defense earlier in my column, and like the Eagles don't have anybody that's going to come close to a Trent McDuffie out there, and then doesn't have anybody like an Edwards or Reed out there playing, and linebacker play have nothing close to that. We can compare the defenses, and my God, do the advantages far outweigh the Eagles by both teams from last night. But when you look at what you're talking about, John, that's culture. And it's what I talk about all the time. That's culture. That's dynasty. That is a great organization. And the Eagles are a very, very good organization. But that's the over-the-topness right there. That you face that, you overcome it, you have belief in yourself that you can do it. You know, I was questioning last night when things weren't going well for Kansas City and the way they were reacting. And I made it one of my talking points today, but I'll get into it a little bit now if you don't mind.
Go for it.
You see that on the sideline, you say, oh, man, is that a spoiled, rotten team that just, like, doesn't know how to lose because they've had – and you have Kelce, and I totally disagreed with what he did going up to Andy Reid the way he did.
Ridiculous.
Of course it's going to be overmasked now because they won the football game and everybody's lovey-dovey and all that. You can't do that stuff. And, whatever. You have, who was it, McKinnon on the sideline screaming and hollering, and him and Patrick Mahomes going at it. So while I'm watching it, I'm thinking – Is that what winning's about? Because we saw it with Tom Brady on the sideline screaming at his offensive lineman.
Bill O'Brien to get into the one time.
And what did they do? They won. Is that where you have to get to be winners like those guys are? I don't agree with that. I never would approach a coach the way he did. But, yeah, I was just going there. Like, is that another big difference between an Eagles team and a championship team, or a championship team and any other team in the NFL? That they can do that, and that's what they can. They talked after it. That's who we are. We care that much. We will yell at each other. We'll yell at coaches. Coaches will yell at us because we're there to do the best for the team. I just thought last night, and you bringing this up, John, you just described what absolute great culture is. That they can do that and win win championships, rather. And
great coaching that they had the strategy to say, here's where we're going. We're driving the car off the cliff. We're fixing it. We're fixing it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just it's so depressing. That was the storyline, Pat, though, that I kept hearing them talk about the fact that it was a hey, this team Christmas night when they could have gone south and they could have all turned on each other. Instead, they rallied and came together.
That's what it is. It's culture, it's coaching, it's leadership, it's everything you were looking for from the Birds that you didn't get when week by week you heard the same rhetoric. Oh, we're running out of time. We got to fix it. We got to right the ship. Oh, we're confident. And then they go out and they just crap the bed. It's, good teams know how to actually put their words into actions. And it's one of the reasons why I thought Kansas City would win yesterday was because they've been there before. They have the better coaching. They have the mental edge of, we're down 10 points, whatever. Yeah, we'll win. Like that is a culture to not let panic set in. I mean,
outside noise.
The fact that in 3 Super Bowls, Patrick Mahomes has not led at the Super Bowl in any of them, and he's come back to win. I mean, look, credit to Patrick Mahomes and credit to the Chiefs players and stuff. Credit to the coaches for going in the locker room and probably, calming some nerves a little bit and not letting, a bad situation, especially the last 2, you're down by 10 points in both Super Bowls, not letting that situation fester to a, panic mode. And, then you have a quiet confidence going on in the second half and they end up winning the game. That's leadership. I don't really have a lot of faith that the Eagles currently have that right now.
Yeah, and I have somebody questioning me on here, Quill McKnight, saying, Bob, you serious? AJ did that and they wanted him traded. I hear you. Great point.
Who's they?
AJ Brown. I don't know what that means. I didn't hear anybody calling for him to be traded. But point being, AJ Brown did it and it caused so much controversy and all that stuff. You didn't have the right culture to get over that.
Amen.
Kansas City does. And I am not at all giving credit or anything to Travis Kelce, the way he acted to Andy Reid.
Like a spoiled
I can't
brat.
stand that. I couldn't stand what he did last night. I thought it was. I wish Andy Reid was 10 years younger and punched him in the face.
I wished Andy had said, sit down.
Yeah.
But he can't do it in the Super Bowl.
Nah, you can. And, I hope there was a talking to, whatever. But, yeah, I do. I just think that there's a culture there. Now, they're towing the line there with all these antics on the sideline, but they have a winning culture. They know how to win.
You know what was completely cowardly, though? Did you watch CBS halftime? Nance and Romo during the game? They didn't take him to task. If that happens in any other game, and it's any other player's name, Joe Smith goes up there and chest bumps his coach and almost knocks him down.
Yeah.
That's how hard it was. That is a scandal. But they were so walking on eggshells because it's Travis Kelce, and they all want a good relationship with Travis Kelce, and they want good access to him. They literally kissed his backside on national TV, and they wouldn't call him out about it. Not one on that CBS panel would call him out about it.
Is that right?
And that was pathetic.
I didn't hear the reaction.
They didn't go after him at all.
I might have had the TV down because our son Tommy,
right.
We can't have football on it. It doesn't do well with him, so I have to turn the sound down if he comes up. So I might have had the sound down. I did see on Twitter where somebody said that I can't believe the way they just glossed over
and
it.
They did.
Did they? Okay,
it was
I
not
didn't
good.
take notice to that. So,
by the way, a personal request here: if somebody has a contact with the Eagles pep band, I've tried to do some behind-the-scenes grabbing of getting contact with the Eagles pep band. I'm trying to do a favor for a friend. So if you've got contacts or you know somebody with the Eagles pep band, if you could have them reach out to me, my DMs are open on
are
Twitter.
they still a thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
really
are they?
Yeah.
Huh.
And so if you have somebody, please, I'd appreciate it if somebody would reach out through my DMs open at John Kincade on Twitter. All right. This player says they'd like to go to Pittsburgh. Who is it? And why do you want to go to Pittsburgh? John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Update.
Chiefs win again. I'm
975thefanatic.com.
I can't believe the stories coming out of San Francisco media today. And this Fanatic Monday is presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant Heating and Air Conditioning Contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Did you realize that Donovan McNabb addressed the San Francisco 49ers before the Super Bowl? I did not.
Seems like everybody under the sun addresses teams before the Super Bowl.
Yeah, because they did not know the overtime rules.
But I'm pumped.
Oh, jeez.
I absolutely love it that Kyle Shanahan, master genius, just ask him. His players did not know the overtime rules in the Super Bowl heading into it. Multiple players asked after the game thought Kyle took the ball first because we're going to go down and score a touchdown and we're going to win the game. They didn't realize both teams are getting the ball. I cannot believe it. That all the preparation, you have 2 weeks going into the Super Bowl, and people always say it. Well, what do you do? Why do you need 2 weeks to get ready for the Super Bowl? And numerous players of the San Francisco 49ers on the record saying, we never discussed overtime. We never discussed the overtime rules. We never discussed overtime strategy. We never discussed any of it. Whereas the Kansas City Chiefs players, they even practiced it this week and the coaching staff discussed what their strategy would be in each situation if they do it. And the bottom line for me is this. People always talk about like kicking going away in football and everything like that. Kick returns aren't as big a deal anymore and things like that. I really believe what you see with Patrick Mahomes is when he's asked to play 4-down football, he scores almost every time. And they had the option, knowing that San Francisco had gotten a field goal, they knew a touchdown won them the Super Bowl. And they knew exactly what they have to do. You want the ball second in overtime so you can then know exactly what is required. And nobody is more dangerous with 4-down football. I bet you the Chiefs could be a 10-7 team every single year if they fired their punter. I think they could say to Patrick Mahomes and that offense, we're playing 4-down football the entire year.
Yeah, it could be.
And they'd be good enough to at least be a team that sneaks into the playoffs.
Yeah, we hear all the stories from years past, recently, whatever, that there's some high school coaches that do that. They never punt the football. And they believe in that. Yeah, I mean, does that come up to the pro level? It has a little bit. Punters are as insignificant now as they've ever been. So, yeah, it could be a thing of the future,
Liv's high school program at her school. The coach was a former Chicago Bear. He's been there forever. He's the second winningest coach ever in the state of Georgia. And inside the 20-yard line, he will not kick a field goal. So when he's inside the 20-yard line, it's 4-down territory every single time. His team knows it. Opponents know it. And he's going for it every single time. And there's college coaches that have done it in the Pac-12 and some others that have been like, nah, we're not. Once we get in enemy territory, we are 4-down territory, and tried it. Chip Kelly tried it for a while as being the 4-down territory once you get into opposition land. But I love it that Andy Reid's team practiced last week overtime. They said, okay, if we go to overtime, and they explained to them on the practice field, here's our strategy. Here's why we are doing what we're doing. And the San Francisco players knew nothing of the strategy. They didn't even know what was going on.
Wow. I mean,
they were watching it on the Jumbotron.
You go to overtime and I'm standing and they're going out for the coin flip in overtime and I'm not sure. I look at a teammate and I say, yo, or a coach, what's going on? What's the rules here? Yeah, they score first touchdown. We have to score a touchdown. You explain it real quick. Okay, gotcha. I don't think it changes how you play or anything like that.
But you had the tight end, Jasinski? Juszczyk. He flat out said, I thought we were going down and scoring a touchdown to win the Super Bowl. During the drive,
right?
He thought if we score, we win the Super Bowl. He had no idea the Chiefs are getting the ball.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous. That's
Well,
like,
it's
that's
not going to make
crazy.
him play any different.
No, I got you, but that's
so like he
crazy
goes
to
to
me.
the sideline. I'm sure if they scored a touchdown, he wasn't going to be jumping up and down going, "We won the Super Bowl." I mean, I'm sure he knew in his head that like that's not no. Yeah,
He claims he didn't though. Post game, he claims he didn't.
Really?
Yes, he claims that he thought
He's in on a drive to win a Super Bowl.
That he thought that they were winning the Super Bowl with a touchdown.
Yeah, I like
That's
strategy.
weird to me.
I don't know if strategy comes into play. Like you're just out there trying to get a touchdown, no matter what. And if I'm playing a game and I don't even know a score, and I'm out there, look, score touchdowns. That's what you're meant to do. A lot of guys don't know all the rules of the game. That's the coach's job, right? Like you could hockey, basketball,
Right.
whatever. It's interesting.
It's
What's the
attention
rule?
to detail, though.
It is.
I love
that's-
it that Andy did it and Shanahan didn't. I love it.
I don't know how much it changes. Like I didn't. The Shanahan thing, taking the ball first, that's going to be questioned forever. And if I don't think it was because he didn't know the rules.
No. I think it's because he's the kind of guy, Pat, that goes to the pool and puts out towels and then goes home for an hour and a half. That will be always my insistence. He's a guy.
Yeah, I don't think that had anything to do with it.
He's a guy who doesn't care about other people's happiness, so he screwed up. Two Eagles players who may or may not be here next year, we got a little clarity on over the weekend. One of them was Jason Kelce, as he joined Chris Long on his podcast, and he talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. Listen to how he references the Philadelphia Eagles.
How you feeling about the whole thing? And you don't know anything, do you? You're still trying to figure it out.
I'll say this. I feel really confident that the Eagles are going to be good next year.
Yeah.
I still think they have great talent. I still think they have great coaches. They've added 2 new coaches in Kellen Moore. And, well, I don't even know. Is Kellen officially? I think he's.
Yeah, I think he's there. Yeah.
So Kellen and Vic are obviously really talented, well-respected coaches. So they're going to have a whole offseason to figure out what's stalled out, what they can do to improve it. And with not just the coaches, but all the people in that building, I really think they're going to come back with a vengeance. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a tremendous year next year. I am very confident the Eagles are going to be very, very good. So I'm trying not to let that affect what's happening, because I really want the decision of whether I'm going to play to just be based on whether I want to do it. Selfishly, I need to make that decision of, can I commit? Can I mentally be there? And do I want to endure that again? Winning helps that. But I think that, you're trying to not factor that in, I guess, in the decision.
He referenced the Eagles as they 8 times. He referenced the Eagles organization as they, not we. I think he's already on the outside looking in, and people are trying to lure him back in. I think it's clear where he stands right now. I'm retired, but I could potentially get talked into being back. It was 8 times he said they. 3 times he referred to the organization as the Eagles.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't say we.
Yeah, and maybe that's practice on his part, that he's trying to talk himself into be out of it. Okay, I've made a decision. I've talked with my wife. I shouldn't come back, and maybe that's his way of doing it. Also, he's having a great time.
He should have a great time.
There's video of him singing to Adele the other night during her concert. We see him winning it in blackjack, in the casinos, just having a great time, walking the hallways of the hotel, and people saying hello. Like it's probably pretty cool to be Jason Kelce right about now. At some point, reality's going to have to sink in. It's probably pretty soon, now that the season's all over. His brothers won another Super Bowl, all that. Where, he and his wife sit down, and it's like, all right, push has to come to shove now. What are we doing?
It sounds like, Pat, though, he is mentally out, but he could get potentially lured back in with candy into the van.
I noticed the same thing you did. The
over and
they,
over.
Not us. That's why I kind of have it at like 4%.
So now you're at 4. You went to 7.
I was at 4.
But you went to 7.
Yeah, well, it went down a little bit.
So this is like the stock market a little bit.
Yeah, it goes up, it goes down. I mean, it could be 11 tomorrow. We could have a good day of trading. Who knows? But I think that he truly is weighing options. I think that he is probably 92%. I'm retired, and
well, that's 8.
There is that 8% that
so
probably is. Well, and then there's like the Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a mathematician, John. You caught me. But I think he's probably done, but I think he probably could be talked back as well. It depends on who's asking. Is it a team thing? Is it Britt and Covey asking? There's different messages
there. Or is it
there.
Kelce asking him?
What do you mean?
Yeah,
Travis?
Is it Kylie?
Well, that's the thing. It's like you can go and say, okay, I think I'm ready to go back. And your wife's like, dude, didn't we do this already? And there is the family angle of it. There is the family angle of do you want to be able to walk your daughters down the aisle, or do you want to have hobbling down there? And that's a real thing for NFL players. So
it is.
I don't blame him for wanting to walk away if he did, but I think that the itch might be there.
I mean, it's tough, and I know I overstate this, and people are like, oh, they go to the money aspect right away. But, Pat, you're about Kelce's age. If there's something you love doing almost more than anything in life and something you've done throughout your whole life that you absolutely love, and at your age now, as a young guy at 34 years old, somebody said, nope, gone, taking it away, it ain't easy. It just isn't. No. And, I hear you about the money. Oh, he can sit back and count his money. Okay, but that's a lifestyle he's used to. He's been used to it for 10 years now because he's made a lot of money in his life. Okay, and that's great. God bless him. I wish we all had that much money. I'm telling you, it's hard.
It's a sport that you can't go play.
Exactly. You know what? You made that great point last week, too. You're right.
Hockey players can go, Eric Lindros plays shinny, I think, twice a week.
Right.
Up in Toronto, right? He just gets out on the skates, and bangs the puck around with a couple guys, and he gets that taste, if you will.
Yep.
You can't do that if you're a football player.
What are you going to do? Get 10 guys to come on over,
no,
and then another 11
football.
guys from the next block?
And a lot of athletes will tell you it's not necessarily even the play in the sport. It's the locker room. It's the hanging with the guys, and then you take that away. And now on Sundays, he's just sitting around. And it was something that he used to be on Ray Didinger. Ray Didinger dealt with.
Right.
I remember seeing the NFL Films thing about when he retired. He didn't know how to handle it because he's like, I don't know how to watch a game just at home. I'm used to being in the studio. And eventually, I think he came back. He was I gotta go back to what I'm used to. I'm not used to charting games on my couch, and it's an adjustment period. And some guys don't handle it great, and, the itch could be there. Would it surprise anybody if Jason Kelce, quote, retired and an injury happens to a guard position
and
he came back? I don't think that surprised anybody in Philly if that happened.
I'm going to put the odds, Pat, just hearing him. I'll put it at 20%.
That he's back?
Yep. He's thinking about it. I mean, it's obvious that he's thinking about it, and he's acknowledging publicly that he wants to think about this in the right way. I just believe that what his wife feels and everything like that, you watch the documentary, is going to play a huge part in it. I think he does care about her opinion on this matter in a big way. And whatever he decides, we'd love to have him back, but I believe the networks are all going to want him.
Yeah, I'll go 50-50. Either he does or he doesn't.
Exactly. You're already at 50.
So I'm good.
No, but you're at 50. So you think it could be a coin flip type of thing?
If I was a betting man, I'd have to say I don't think he's coming back. But I don't know. Besides watching a documentary and listening to those words that he said on that interview, hey, he's having fun. God bless him. Go have fun. Go do you. Get everything out of your system that you want. Maybe you even
enjoy yourself.
Yeah, maybe even go to the parade in Kansas City or something to support your brother. But yeah, there'll be time to sit down, and he knows when and how and what's going to happen.
Fletcher Cox, on the other hand, it appears he wants to play next year. And remember, he cleaned out his locker really, really fast at the end of the season. Not one to deal with the Spanish Inquisition, I guess, that came down after the collapse of 1-6. And he was on Cam Hayward's podcast, who, by the way, congratulations to Karen for winning the Walter Payton Award. And he was on his podcast, which is more than football podcast. Really, really good stuff. It's called Not Just Football. And Hayward asked Cox on the podcast which team would he like to play for in the NFL. And he said, you. The Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. It's all love. Just respect the love you have for the game. Respect the love I have for the game. the way you play the game, the way I play the game, we definitely could do we could make some nice things happen. So you have Fletcher Cox already talking about, I'd like to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. That tells me that he's not coming back. That you don't answer. You don't answer.
Good.
But you don't answer the question that way if you.
Yeah, you're right.
If you're going to be an Eagle, if you think the Eagles are still on the table, you don't answer the question that way. And if you do, you answered it poorly. That was a poor way to answer it. Yeah, I'd like to play with you. You and we could do some great things together. The Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'm like, wow. That was surprising to me because I would expect he'd be a little more
not as open.
And by the way, I'm not ripping him for it. I'm just shocked. I'm absolutely shocked because he has every right to say where he wants to play. He doesn't have a contract. He doesn't have a deal. He can say whatever he wants. My jaw dropped when I heard it, though. I was like, wow, he said that? A Pittsburgh Steeler? It just surprised me.
Yeah, I don't see Fletcher Cox being back here, and I'm okay.
I think I'm okay with it.
I think
too.
you can get rotational guys that can perform just as well. Thank you so much. He did great here, and he's probably a Hall of Famer. So that's okay. But I'm like if I'm just looking at this Eagles team and building it now,
you're okay.
I am. I'm okay.
Hey, Graf joins us. Good morning, Graf.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you this morning?
Good to hear from you, buddy.
Yeah, you guys, I got to tell you, I'm not supposed to be all happy about other people's misery, but watching that 49ers team sit on the sideline and get rained on by Chiefs confetti was really nice.
I felt the same way. Way.
You see your boy Fletcher Cox, who we're just talking about, posted a nice little thing on Instagram coming to Deebo Samuel. So I'm all for it. If that's his farewell to us, then all right, buddy. But I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be a team that you're going to latch onto and win a Super Bowl with. I don't know how that makes sense.
Are you surprised by it at all? Had you seen those comments, by the way?
I did not see those comments, but I'm also not terribly surprised by it. I mean, he's a free agent at this point, right?
Right. He is, and you feel the same way we do, Graf. Like he has every right to, if he wants to.
Yeah, go wherever you want, man. At this point, these guys have, I think the city of Philadelphia has indebted itself to these guys, and these guys are just like, go off and do what you need to do in order to take care of yourself and be happy. I'm happy for you, you got me something that I've never had before.
That's very mature of you, by the way, because I think there's a lot of fans who'd be like, screw you, you want to be a Steeler. I was shocked by the answer, but Fletcher Cox, I wish him nothing but happiness and joy the rest of his life because he was part of something big.
Do you think these guys stay here in the Philadelphia area? Like, do you think this is where they call home?
A lot of them.
I can't imagine Jason Kelce goes anywhere with Kylie being a Philadelphia native.
No, I don't think
Brandon Graham.
I think Brandon Graham's going to be here. I think Kelce's going to be here.
Kelce, yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know about Cox or any of that. I'm not sure.
I got a question for you guys. Did anybody else think it was funny that Patrick Mahomes didn't run the football at all until, OT? It was almost like the entire world forgot that he had legs and could do what he did, and then OT comes through, and he took full advantage of the 49ers defense playing that lockdown on all his wide receivers. He's like, my wide receivers aren't open. That's all right. He's going to run up the middle of the field, take chunks of 30 yards or such. It was awesome.
It was fun to see it. And in the fourth quarter, he did run some. Thanks, Graf. In the fourth quarter, he did run some.
Well, it's funny. You and I were talking about this off air the other day that one of the biggest plays in that Eagles-Kansas City game although it was first down, Kansas City had the ball trying to run out the clock against the Eagles. He went for a 26-yard scamper. And we thought he had one ankle that wasn't working, remember?
Oh, yes.
And he saved that till the fourth quarter. And then in this game, Graf's right. He ran one little scramble. That was cool. And then they called a play to the right that was wide open. And he went for, I think, 20-plus yards. Yeah, the guy's he's pretty good.
Yeah, he really is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty good, Pat. That's good analysis.
Guy knows how to win, man.
He does. He certainly does. And
down 10 doesn't matter.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't react. He doesn't react poorly to adversity. He understands how it is. And again, good luck to Fletcher Cox, to Jason Kelce, and everybody as we put a bow in the season. Good luck. Whatever decision you make is great. But I'm okay if Fletcher leaves. And that's no slam on him.
No.
But you're going to have to move from some of these players, and it's going to be something that we talk about. Pat wants to know if the 76ers need something at the market. And we'll ask Daryl Morey about it coming up at the bottom of the hour when Daryl Morey joins us. Coming up, John Kincade Show on The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports Up. WPEN HD1 Burlington, Philadelphia. A Beasley Media Group station. Broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studios. Powering possibilities. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com. The John Kincade Show with Bob Cooney and Pat Egan continues. 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
San Francisco loses or Chiefs win. I guess it's a matter of how you look at it. I look at it as San Francisco loses. I'm happy about that. I do believe they're going to have trouble sustaining, as they've got some salary cap issues to get over and some hurdles of their own. John Kincade Show on The Fanatic. Appreciate you being a part of us all the time. Those of you on the YouTube channel, we love you. We see you. Those out there on the internets through the app, thanks for listening all day long. I know that Andrew will have some entertaining sports talk coming your way today in middays, and then the best show ever this afternoon. Flyers hockey tonight on The Fanatic. Can the Flyers win their fourth in a row tonight? It's on MMR tonight.
Yeah,
Excuse
we got the
me.
Sixers game
I forgot
tonight.
about that. Yes. It'll be on MMR tonight, our sister station, as the Flyers take on the Arizona Coyotes. Still seems weird to me. The Arizona Coyotes. Because the Arizona Coyotes. Because they were the Phoenix Coyotes forever. So
It doesn't seem weird to me.
I just don't
They're
like.
I'm probably just because they're such a forgettable franchise. They're just there.
Good point.
Like the Arizona Coyotes are the guy in your fantasy football league that just donates money every year. You have him around. You never worry about him. You know, he's going to draft his team, but he's just donating money. And that's the Arizona Coyotes. They're just there. They're just taking up space.
You know, that's all it is.
They'll draft a good player every once in a while, and then they got to trade him because he doesn't want to play in front of a 5,000 seat arena that's half filled. And they trade him out, but no, they're a pitiful franchise.
Yeah, they are. I think they might be moved because they haven't gotten the stadium thing all worked out.
I don't
yet.
know. Bettman's like that is his square peg round hole thing. Like,
well, they're gonna
take my left arm, but don't take the Coyotes out of Arizona.
It's absolutely craziness. But he's looking at the Phoenix market and saying it's one of the fastest growing markets in the country, and he's looking for it.
He bought into the Reggie Dunlop theory from Slapshot.
Hey, the 9 o'clock hour is brought to you by The Bagster. It's a dumpster in a bag. You can get yours today at Home Depot and Lowe's. For details, go to bagster.com, and we appreciate it. Daryl Morey joins us coming up today at 9:30, and we're going to find out about this veteran buyout market, and there are spots. And I know, Pat, you're thinking about whether, where does he go shopping here? What does he potentially do? But, Bob, they've got money and they have the opportunity to do it. But
they've got money. They've got roster space.
Yes, they do.
What is it, 3 guys they can get, or is it 2?
After Lowry, it would be 2.
After Lowry, it'd be 2.
But Lowry's not done yet, but it's
Lowry's
going to
not
get done.
Yeah, he's got to go through waivers. It'll probably happen within the nenext couple of days. I just was speaking with the Sixers. So.
By the way, did they respond to you? Because from what I read, I tried to get you before the end of the break there. He's not allowed to talk about Lowry yet.
No, because he's not officially signed with the team.
It would be tampering if he did.
Yeah, so
that just so you know,
the thought is that something could go screwy. Somebody unexpected could sign Kyle Lowry and he not get through waivers. The anticipation is that he'll be here. Spencer Dinwiddie went with the Lakers over the weekend. That was another name that was being thrown around. It's weird. You can talk about roster construction, but when not everybody's together, what does it really mean? I don't know how a Buddy Hield's going to fit in with Joel Embiid if they're going to play together at all this season. Do you have a bench of DeAnthony Melton and Kyle Oubre? Is DeAnthony Melton ever going to be able to play with that bad back? It's just so many questions abound, and I'll be anxious to talk to Daryl Morey about it and see if some of those questions can get answered, if not all of them.
I am anxious to hear what he answers, but more importantly, how do you maneuver? He's such a bad position to be in. The uncertainty over Joel Embiid's injury. I'm wondering, will we be able to tell by the end of the call where he's leaning? Joel being in or Joel being out?
That's our job, John, right? We got to ask the tough questions and get the tough answers.
Yes, I mean, whether right now, Pat, you're wondering too, does it even matter?
I hate asking the question, but they could add pieces at the veteran buyout market, and they could get a big man in here. And at the end of the day, do you think it really matters?
I don't.
Like,
I don't want to be. I don't want to be that negative Nancy on it, because if they make the play-in tournament, I'm going to still be excited, thinking that maybe they could end up getting lined up with the Bucks or something.
I don't know. Maybe. I don't see any pieces that could I feel like it'd be putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. And I also don't like being that guy who's going to sit here and go, all right, let's pack it in. But like, what could they get in the veteran buyout market that's going to make it that much better? I mean, is Andre Drummond getting bought out? I maybe, but
why wouldn't they have traded him? You know what I mean?
Then that happens a lot though, when like you see a guy that probably should get traded, but I don't know. I mean, I would expect them to keep him, because at this point we haven't heard anything. But
sure,
if they need a big, like I don't know if any of it's in the long run really going to make that much of an impact.
So I think your question needs to be followed with a question back to you. When you say, so at the end of the day, what does it really matter? My question to you would be, when is the end of the day? Like, is the end of the day the end of the season? Is the end of the day when Joel Embiid comes back? Should he? Like, if he comes back on late March, early April, and does get a handful of games in with this team, and now you're talking about a team of a lot different than when he left.
Yeah.
How do you feel then?
I mean, the end of the day being at the end of the season, because I'm still looking at this like they're going to err on with an abundance of caution when it comes to Joel Embiid returning. Like, if it's supposed to be 4 weeks, it'll be 6. If it's supposed to be 6, it'll be 8. If it's supposed to be 8, it'll be 3 months. Like, they aren't going to rush this guy back. He's that important. So I'm going in thinking he's likely to not play for the rest of the season. Now, I'm going in with a much different attitude than probably they're going in with. I mean, they're probably have these grandiose ideas of him coming back, and you add some piece of the veteran buyout market, you squeak a couple wins in February, and then all of a sudden the light at the end of the tunnel happens. I don't think there is a light at the end of the tunnel this season.
Could be an oncoming train, right?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, it might be the Broad Street line. I don't know. Like, I'd love to get excited about Kyle Lowry. I mean, and the Doherty guy in me is, but the Sixers fan, I go like, okay, you're finally going to hit on some veterans in the veteran buyout market, and it's not even going to matter in the end of the day, because they're just not good enough as currently constructed, because your best player's out. And when you take the best player off most NBA teams, they're done.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't know if it's being a negative Nancy to be like, I don't know if it matters, but it's being honest. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
It's not just saying, well, we're the home of the Sixers, so we're just gonna totally be homers for it and say they can finish in the 10 seed and still make a run, because I really, in my heart of hearts, I don't believe that.
And I want to be wrong about this. I would love for them to surprise me, and we could play the tape and laugh about it, and I could say how I was young and naive. But if people want to label me as negative, fine. Yeah, I mean, I guess being a Sixers fan the past couple of years has ingrained in me some negativity a little bit. With anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So, yeah, I'm going to skew more negative with this basketball team, because I've lived through that. You have
the bullet wound.
7 or 8. Yeah, I got the scars on my soul from dealing with game 7s of passed up dunks, and being up 3 games to 2 and blowing that lead, and broken faces and stuff. So yeah, I'm going to skew a little negative, because that seems to be what happens to this team.
And the masses would stand with you because of all the evidence that you just laid out, Pat. I mean, that is the easy and probably best whatever answer. Like, a guy hit me up on Twitter the other day, and he goes, see Bob happened again, and Embiid's hurt, and you said you thought the Sixers were playing fun basketball in the middle of the season, earlier this season. When are you going to learn? Well,
what?
Okay. No, that's fine. Ultimately he can say, see, I told you, why do you get invested? Because it always happens this way. Evidence lends to what the guy said to me on Twitter, that, yeah, they don't get out of the second round. Yeah, their big man gets hurt an awful lot, this and that. But as I pointed out, and this is just me, I'm not going to miss maybe something special, maybe something horrible in the middle of the season with the expectation of, well, it's not going to. What if it doesn't? What if it ends totally differently?
Correct.
What if a team that you're following or have followed all your life all of a sudden has this year of unbelievable goodness, and then turns it into a playoff run. Do you want to miss that? Yeah, maybe the season does turn out the same again, and you can come back to me and say, see, I don't even know why you say that they were playing well, because it always ends the same way. Okay, but I'm going to watch it with the thought that maybe it won't end the same way. I never assume that any basketball, football, baseball, hockey season is going to end the same way as it has before. That's what sports is about. Something different can always happen.
I wish I was that way, but usually I go in.
And like I said, you're with the masses.
I look to be pleasantly surprised, but I usually don't go in thinking, okay, it's going to be a little bit different when I feel like I've seen it.
Let me clarify. I'm sorry, go ahead.
But I'll still watch.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the sign of a fan is you're expecting the worst, and yet you're still there.
You're still there. You're front and center.
You know, when you see a trailer come on during the Super Bowl for a movie and you go, that movie sucks, you're probably not rushing out to see it. You're probably not seeing it at all. You're skipping it. But yet in sports, we'll sit there and watch Eagles games for the past 7 weeks thinking, this offense has been dreck all year. They haven't gotten it together. Now it's finally catching up to them. Yet I'm still here. I'm still watching the Eagles game. I'm hate watching it, but I'm still here. So it's the dichotomy of being a sports fan.
Yeah, I mean, it's really it's a radical discussion. I would just say this is that just looking at what we were talking about with the Flyers, if the Flyers snuck in and I had Davion, sent a long note. He goes, John, I know you're the voice of the Philadelphia Flyers, your station. But what would it matter if they sneak into the playoffs this year? It's not about this year. Who cares? I said to him, the team that snuck into the playoffs last year in the Eastern Conference with the worst points total won the conference and went to the Stanley Cup Finals. So you can't go in and say it doesn't matter. Hockey, more than anything, seeding doesn't tend to matter as much. In the hockey playoffs, it's very weird. Hockey goalies get fired up and everything. And I'm not saying something like that's going to happen. But the team that snuck into the playoffs last year, last spot, by a point, won the conference and went to the finals against Las Vegas in the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, you never know. You could say definitively, oh, this is going to happen again. Why do you bother? Okay, what if it doesn't? Like, I never thought Mike Tyson was going to lose to Buster Douglas when he was a 50-1 favorite. He did. And if I'd have just said, what difference does it make? Tyson's going to win in 12 seconds. I'm not going to watch it. Well, then you missed one of the best memories of sports that I ever have. Right. You know, so just different things like that. I don't go into a season with expectations as much as I go in to say, oh, let's see what's going to happen here. And, and if I come halfway through a season and say, man, the Sixers are playing really good ball and this is the best Joel Embiid's ever played, that's what I see in the there and now. And then if he gets hurt and they wind up doing it and somebody says, see, I told you it wasn't going to happen. Okay. If you think you were right and you shouldn't have watched any of that's fine.
But also, though, you're not a fan then. If you have that attitude, you're not a fan, because the fan is coming back and watching every year. And no, you don't believe your team's going to win a championship every year, but you invest. That's being a fan. If you don't invest, you are not a fan. If you do not invest of your energy, now I'm not talking about your money. If there's a crappy product and you don't want to spend your money, I am not going to rip you. You choose to say management is totally disregarding us, that's fine if you don't want to spend your money. But if you're not investing your energy to pay attention to them, to watch, to at least have interest in it, then you're not a fan. You're just you are a complete casual at that point.
Maybe.
That's a complete casual.
I mean, all right, let's take you guys, you're Temples fans. You have to admit you probably watched a whole lot more games when John Chaney was the coach. Right.
But I still put on, well, I know, like the Temple game, I always know when it's going to be on. I always go on the weekend and pre-program and say I can see it. Here's how I'd be able to watch it if I get a chance to see it. I still will read about it. And I got to tell you, I'm incredibly frustrated right now.
Yeah,
but I still invest. I still care.
Well, kind of. You kind of invest. Like, before you were investing in watching the games all the time.
Oh, no question.
And I'm not saying you in particular. I'm saying
but it is the truth.
But, yeah, I mean, so that doesn't say you're not. I don't
ignore it and say to somebody who is a fan, why are you watching? Why are you investing? That's not a fan. If you say that to somebody who is a Temple fan, and right now, no, hell no. Like Liv was saying, how the student section was probably like 2/3 full the other night for the Memphis game, and they were giving away T-shirts and pizza and stuff, and
Sure.
and it's like 2/3 full. I mean, if some kid goes, "Why do you invest?" They're not a fan. If the kids who show up and maybe they show up for 2 games this year, 3 games this year, they're fans. They're still trying.
Yeah, questioning why somebody pays attention and goes to a game, I don't understand that.
It's like, why
you're
you're
gonna
like,
question it.
don't invest.
I mean, go do you, man? Like if you want to go and watch it in person and all that, that's cool.
Right.
I'm not gonna rip you for that because 2015 I was watching a lot of bad baseball. So
it goes back to mine. There is no rules of fandom. You want to cheer one day and not the next? That's fine with me. I don't care.
Well, but disregarding a season or telling other fans that they should be disregarding the product because there's no reason to watch it, that's not a fan. You're not a fan.
Well,
not.
nobody told me to disregard. It was just
I thought he
kinda
did.
like,
he said, "Why are you investing, Bob? Why do you care? Why do you care in your team?"
Yeah, he knew it was going to happen. Yeah.
Sure he did.
So, yeah, I just never look at sports like that, like you know what's going to happen. Yeah, 9 times out of 10. And guess what? I could predict that my team's not going to win a Super Bowl every year if I had a true – and guess what? You're going to be right almost 95% of the time because that it just does. Most teams end their season losing.
That's the guy who told you the day after Carson Wentz was injured that the Eagles' season was over. The Eagles had no shot. Nick Foles sucks. They can't win. Had no hope. That's that guy. That's the person. And I guarantee you they were the first one to run to, down to Rally House and go buy themselves some Super Bowl gear.
See, I disagree with you on that one.
Yeah, so do I. Because if you're not invested, your feelings aren't that hurt.
You can be bummed out. You can be bummed out.
Oh, my God, we had a guy crying on our air.
No, you can be bummed out. I get that. But if you said that day after, they have no chance, season's over, it's done, come on.
I disagree with you
Really?
1,000%.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, this is a franchise that had routinely, come up short. And then you finally have that one magical season. You have the guy who's supposed to win the MVP and your franchise quarterback, and they're playing great. And then it's ripped from you. I don't blame anybody for being very reactive in that moment the day after to go, yeah, it ain't happening. Because I think if you gave everybody truth serum, they're going, yeah, it ain't happening. Now, the question is, was that guy watching the next week? And if he was watching the next week, then no, he's a fan. Because it takes something in you to go, this ain't the year, and it sucks, and it was ripped from us. And damn it, 6 days later, I'm still here. And I'm still watching it. And I'm watching I'm spending my Christmas watching atrocious
It was a terrible game.
Eagles, Raiders football. But I'm still here.
What was that, 6-0 or something?
Yeah, it was so gross.
The NFC sucked so bad that year. It was a bad NFC. And I was like, and everything started falling their way too. It was just, I don't know. I look at it differently. And the another fan saying to you, why are you even watching? Why do you even care? They have no shot. And I had people that were feeling like that about that Eagles team that year. It's over. You can watch it, but it's over. And I didn't believe that.
You were one of the few.
I didn't.
Very few.
And because of the fact, the only reason, Bob, is I thought the NFC sucked, and I thought that all the playoff matchups went their way.
With Nick Foles at quarterback?
The Falcons beat the Rams. So the Falcons were coming in instead of the Rams, and I was like, wow. The Saints get upset.
Well, that was later on, yeah.
No, but everywhere step along the way, I just said, I think they're winning. I think they're going to win. I think they're the better team. And thankfully it worked. It worked out that time. So Pat has a question for the sports fans of the city, and I can't believe Pat's going to ask this question with the answer that he has for it. We'll get to that, but remember, Daryl Morey joins us at the bottom of the hour. You don't want to miss it. Here on 97.5 The Fanatic.
Fanatic Sports. On Kincade Show, 97.5 The Fanatic and 97.5thefanatic.com.
Daryl Morey, president of basketball ops, joins us at the bottom of the hour on this Fanatic Monday, presented by Pierce Phelps Bryant, heating and air conditioning contractors. Visit nopaybryant.com for flexible spending options on a new heating and cooling system. Pat, I'm going to tell you your question's sort of gross. Well, really, not your question. Your answer is sort of gross, but I understand your grossness. I understand where you're coming from. I understand how you're feeling today, because it's a difficult day in a lot of ways as we look at the landscape of all the teams here in Philadelphia.
It's not great. Yeah, not great. What team? It's a typical sports radio question, but it had me thinking last night. What team has the brightest future? And I asked this because as I was watching that game last night, and it wasn't a fun game. And normally I think it's customary that when you beat the ultimate, the eventual Super Bowl champions.
Yes.
Or if you beat a team just in the Super Bowl, which at that point the Eagles had done, the Eagles had beaten the Chiefs, you immediately go, man, what could have been? What if the Eagles were in this situation? And sometimes you fool yourself into thinking, oh yeah, it would be completely different. The Eagles would be winning this game, and if only. And we did that in 2002 with the Raiders and Bucks. We did that. If the Eagles could have just beaten this, we would have won. So I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm going, yeah, it wouldn't have been different. The game probably would have been even more gross than the game already is, because I just watched the Eagles offense all season long. So then I went to the future and the landscape of Philadelphia sports, who has the brightest future, and it dawned on me, the Eagles might have the bleakest future. And that is appalling.
I'm rolling my eyes.
I never would have thought I'd be sitting here saying that a year ago, but here I am. I mean, the defense is
wow.
Yeah. I mean, so go ahead. Who has rank them?
There's no
1
way.
through 4.
Well, there's no way that the Sixers have a brighter future than the Eagles.
So so let's address that. So they have arguably the best player in the world.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Okay, but it's true.
No, I got you.
It's true.
I've got you, but there's no empirical data to tell me that they're going on a deep run.
Okay, maybe not this year, but we're talking future. They got Joel Embiid. They have a lot of cap space. They got a few assets to play with in terms of draft picks. The cap space, though, is big. And they got a coach that can attract some talent. Looks like, at least.
It does look that way.
The veteran buyout market, they struck out every year with Doc Rivers. First year with Nick Nurse, you lose the MVP, and they're already getting guys. So I hear what you're saying totally. And I'm not sitting here saying that, the Sixers are going to be hoisting the Larry O.B. in a year or two. But the future, you can make the case that it is bright just because of all the cap space they have. Now, I would retort with that they've never once attracted a top-level free agent that they haven't had to overpay. But they do have a lot of cap space, and they do have arguably the best player.
What I would say is, in the modern era, why I say that is, and I would say that it's the Phillies or the Eagles that have the brightest future. Because the Eagles, whenever they hit a bump on the road, whenever they hit a pothole like you do on 76, and I try to avoid them, they always bounce back. The Eagles, since Andy Reid took over in 99, have given us 25 years of knowing that when they have a crappy season, they tend to bounce back, and they tend to bounce back pretty strong. So I have enough data to say to me, don't overreact, because they've shown me they know how to fix it.
Okay, let me see how I'm going to go here with this one. You have 2 All-Stars out of 5 starters on your NBA team. That's a pretty good start.
Nice start.
You have a lot of money, as Pat said, during this offseason to go and get stuff, fill things out. Future, bright, all depends on the health of the big man. But not many teams have 2 NBA All-Stars out of their starting 5. So there's the goodness and the badness there. Phillies, it's here and now more than future. I think it's just a here and now team, and I think the next couple of years of the future look pretty good. I might have to go, because your expectations aren't there, I might have to go Flyers as far as
brightest future?
Well,
of all the teams in Philly?
I mean, what are we talking bright future? Championships? I mean, obviously that's the end-all, be-all, but they're rare as can be. brightest future is getting better, maybe creating a foundation. If
They're
you
ahead
look
of
at
where
it
they are.
that way,
Yeah, they're ahead of where they are, and
yeah,
their prospect
seems you have
pools.
a hell of a coach.
Brightest future to me is you're knocking on doors for titles. You're knocking on doors. You're in the mix. You're in the conversation. Phillies have been in the conversation. Eagles have been in the conversation. Sixers have not. Flyers have not.
It's so daunting, though. Imagine this, John. Imagine if we get word over the next few weeks that Jalen Hurts is having knee surgery, and there's a degenerative kind of condition in there that, like, it's going to warrant looking at for the rest of his career. And that's the reason he was so much slower this year than he appeared to be last year. Well, now your future doesn't look so bright, obviously.
And I'm going to say, I'm glad he was playing touch football or whatever, but I don't believe that's going to happen. But I get what you're saying. It is tentative. But Joel Embiid's is the worst thing we're sitting on.
Sure.
Because Joel Embiid is the most likely athlete in the town for us to get that call about. He's the most likely guy that we get the catastrophic news of an athlete. It wouldn't shock anybody if they just said, man, that knee, it's not good. It's not good, and it's not going to get any better. And then arthritis can set in, and you just see it. You see knee injuries take guys down in the NBA all the time.
It is just amazing, I think, that list that I put together last week of big men throughout the years and how many times they played 67 or more games compared to the one time Joel Embiid did. Now, look, I hear people saying, he plays a different game, and, nobody ever played it like him.
Come on.
Okay, but we're talking about these guys did play, and they played 70 and 80-plus games a year for 10 years.
And they played in the paint.
He's gone over 67 once.
And they played in the paint for 74 games, 75 games, and got the crap beaten out of them.
And I'm not using that as a deterrent to Joel Embiid. I'm using it as man, look what you could have had and you're just not getting. Now, maybe he does go on a 4 or 5 year run where he plays 70 games. Maybe he does through the last part of his career. I don't know. But so far, through 8 years, one time he's done over 67 games. The most feeling I get out of is that sucks for the fans.
Pat, I think I have to put the Sixers at the bottom of that 4.
And I would understand that. It's funny. We could argue each team as to why they shouldn't be last.
Or should be first.
Exactly.
Phillies can't be last.
I agree with that. That's the one where
I think Eagles can't be last.
Yeah, Bobby, I
but
spoke
the Phillies are older.
They are, but
they are. But they absolutely have a 3-year.
They're older, but also like I do have to look at the prospect pool that they do have, and it is better, and it is strong, and they have, 2 pitchers, one coming back from Tommy John, but 2 pitchers who are pitching at the upper levels that should, end up showing up sooner, much sooner rather than later. They do have top 100 prospect in Justin Crawford that should be here in 2 years. Like their future is bright, whereas when they were going through that run in 08, 9, 10, 11. We got a little fooled into some of the prospects, but the system wasn't as deep then as it is now. So even though they're older, it looks like they can replenish some of those guys with some of the farm system a little bit. And if they want to go out and buy at the deadline, they'll have the pieces to do that, like they did last year with Lorenzen.
Lots of interesting stories coming your way, and we are getting closer and closer to Phillies baseball. And honestly, we're only 207 days, as Haley pointed out to me this morning, 207 days to the Eagles opener. So, I mean, if you want to look at it that way, you can feel that.
I do not.
You can feel that.
I'm good.
Because to me, the only reason I don't want to look at it that way, Pat, is because there's too much to look forward to. I'm really looking forward to Philly season. I'm really looking forward to the last 29 games of the Flyers season, because the further and further they go along, creating a buffer over that last playoff spot, the last team out, I'm going to just start to dream that, because I'd love nothing more than to watch this team get in and have a playoff series, and I would have no expectations. Again, I think that is one of the best parts when you have a young team and there's no expectations for them to win. It's fun to get a chance to just see how they react.
And I know it's frustrating when you bring it up, but the Sixers' final games of this season, I'm looking forward to see, how Buddy Hield is, campaign is, and then obviously getting the updates about Joel Embiid, which we're going to get right about now with Daryl Morey.
By the way, it's very, very clear. Buddy Hield's very excited to be here.
Yeah.
he was very excited to be part of this city. He's calling around and talking to players and saying how much they love Philadelphia and everything like that. That made my day.
Yep.
That made my day because that meant that this was not just some short little thing. He's committed.
Yeah.
Hey, the president of basketball operations for the Philadelphia 76ers, Daryl Morey, joins us on the Comcast Business Hotline. Every day in business is a big day. Comcast Business, get you ready for what's next.
Daryl, how you doing today?
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. First question I want to get to, kind of want to lead this up from what has happened as far as the surgery and then move it forward to where we are today. So I want to start out with everything that happens with this team, as you well know and we all know, falls under the umbrella of Joel Embiid's health. So kind of a two-part question. Do you have the idea of him coming back or the hope of him coming back? And then how do you handle this time off with him while he's recuperating?
Yeah, it's the hope, but, the hope is, we feel that's the right plan to take. Obviously, we added to the team in Buddy Hield campaign and, hopefully a buyout here shortly that we'll be able to announce. We feel like that's the right path. With the additions, we have as good a chance as anyone in the East.
Daryl, can you take us through a little bit of how you woke up on trade deadline day and what plan you had in your head? And I'm sure that you realize there's always going to be detours and off ramps that you're going to have to maneuver, and how the day actually went.
Yeah, so we had actually worked pretty hard to do some business early on Wednesday that just didn't come together. So we actually started anew on Thursday. We did not think Buddy was going to move actually on Thursday, but it was a good thing it did. Once we were able to lock in the Buddy Hield move, then we looked for other moves that could help us both either now or into the future. So, yeah, it was a little bit of a tense one because we went into Thursday with really all the key things that we thought were going to be available sort of off the board, and then Indiana looped back on the Buddy Hield possibility.
Daryl, the hope obviously is to keep head above water, and then maybe even more so than that while Joel Embiid is sidelined. But you're also dealing with many more injuries, sickness, obviously they'll overcome. But the other injuries that you're dealing with, how full of a team do you expect to have during this time that you need to kind of tread water without Joel Embiid?
Yeah, another chance to be great tonight. To your point, we've had 4 of our 5 starters. We had our main 5 was really right there with the best in the league at the start of the year with Joel playing. I think we're a bit of a mash unit through the All-Star break, it's looking like, although there's a chance a couple guys may come back in these last few games. But we're hoping to hit the ground running after the All-Star break with mostly everyone minus Joel, and then Joel at some point after that.
Some point after that, Daryl, with best case scenario, just play it out for us a little bit. We hear 4 to 6 weeks. I've said on this airwaves that I don't know if 4 to 6 means after 4 or 6 weeks, that's when he starts doing work, or if that's when he gets reevaluated. Is there work being done now from the time he got operated on until that 4 to 6 week period with him as far as maybe basketball stuff?
Yeah, I mean, there's work now. Rehab is tough. So, everyone should appreciate Joel. He's just focused on doing everything he can to get well and get back this season. We can't really put a timetable on it, just to say that we're hopeful, and we know Joel will do everything he needs to do to get back out there. And I think he's very excited about what Buddy Hield can bring and campaign, and hopefully we'll be able to announce a buyout here in not too long as well.
President of Basketball Operations, Daryl Morey of your Philadelphia 76ers, joining us on your flagship station, 97.5 The Fanatic. Daryl, why is Nick Nurse the guy to navigate this organization right now through these choppy waters?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately for us, unfortunately with all the players we have out, Nick I would say, I'd be shocked if I'm wrong, has the most experience of any NBA head coach of dealing with guys in and out of lineups. He, as folks know, he's cut his teeth playing at every level of basketball, where some nights you have a different 3-4 guys almost every night, whether that be in the G League or the British Basketball League or all the different places he's been. So we're pretty excited to see how Nick's going to get creative here to get us through. Obviously, it's been tough sledding lately, but glad we got to win last night and hope to build on it tonight against a very tough Cavaliers team.
Worst kept secret in the city, Daryl, about your hopefully signing a buyout person. Should that person be who we think it is, what are you looking for from?
Well, you're allowed to talk about it. I just can't say.
Right. Okay. So if there is a certain guard, Kyle Lowry, coming to this team, what does a guard, an older guard that might not have, all the skills that they used to have, how is that beneficial to this team?
Yeah, generally the players who get bought out are a little bit farther along in their career. Suffice to say, we wouldn't add someone we didn't think had a lot left. We feel he's an absolute upgrade, and often the reasons why players do leave. Some of them are just like those teams want to move on, but sometimes it's they have a trade and there's no other way for them to do the trade except to move that salary. So it really isn't reflective on their quality of play.
Daryl, I know how hard you've worked to try to really get your finger on the pulse of this town and understanding this fan base and the frustrations that this fan base has felt over the last 4 decades. Is how do you balance out that, knowing what your consumers and what your fan base wants with what is best for the long-term plan, especially in a year that has been as rocky as this with as many obstacles put in your path?
You said that in a nice way. That
I was taught to do that, Daryl.
Yeah. No, I appreciate. I think the wonderful thing is Philly fans are so passionate, and when I walk around Center City, they all let me have it in good ways and fun ways. And look, I think it's just by keeping an eye on the prize. What is the right thing for the team, and I really have to not focus on past things that the fans got upset with. If it takes us away from doing the right thing, if it takes us away from building the best team possible to win the championship. But I do recognize it. I do understand it. When the history with the Celtics, all these kinds of things, I understand it, but I think the bigger mistake would be to not do the moves necessary that will help us win.
Daryl, if you were one of those 76ers fans and you were looking at Daryl Morey, would you say that he's got a great job ahead of him because he has Embiid and Maxey and a lot of money to go forward? Or, God, it's got to be frustrating because Embiid can't seem to stay healthy and you're just trying to pad things together until he does?
Oh, it's for sure the former, in that, some players get as Joel. Lots of front office folks go their whole career and not work with someone as great as Joel. I've had the good fortune of had many great players, but Joel for sure, when he's going well, is the best one I've worked with. So we, even though things get tough, and especially during losing streaks, it's tough. We're blessed every day to have such a great player.
Daryl, do you believe that the success of the 76ers in the next short term, while Joel Embiid has got years of his prime left, are going to in any way affect the new stadium proposal getting approved?
No, I mean that's such a long-term thing. And the other thing is, I don't think Nick and the players are going to battle as much as possible. But folks have to remember that we build the roster with Joel as the center of it. So it's not just we have players out. The remaining players work best with Joel behind them like an elite rim protector. So we often do moves that the player is optimized here because they either enhance the spacing for Joel, their defense might get covered up by Joel. So, yeah, we build everything around Joel, so it's, it gets actually tough. But on the arena front, I think that's something pretty exciting for the future, and I doubt anything in the short run impacts that.
With all of these expiring contracts that you have on this team right now, there are a lot of people are saying, yeah, next year's going to be a lot of turnaround, and that could be it. But are there some people on this roster that you would consider or maybe even likely have back next year under different contracts?
Look, we're an extremely good team. The one thing that cap room gives you is optionality in that if there is, one of the top few players in the league that comes available, we can go after that player. But to your point, we have 3, 4, 5, 6 players on this roster who for sure you're like, hey, this player we'd love to keep around because they add so much. So, people are making a little bit too much about the turnover.
Would you say Tobias Harris might be one of those players?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Tobias has given us great minutes. And, for sure he's someone I could see with a future here as well.
How about the Tyrese Maxey extension? I'm sure you guys have already been working on that. Is that something you can speak to, that we can expect to be an easy process and one of the building blocks of this next summer coming up?
Pretty sure I can't directly talk about that, but I can say that our plans are for Tyrese to be here for a very, very, very long time. 3 varies.
That makes him 3 varies. That's very good.
So, Daryl, moving forward now, just right as you go along here, I don't know what the long-term, and maybe you do or don't, can fill us in on DeAnthony Melton, on Nick Batum, where their injuries might take them moving forward. And does that lend you to do even more? I think you have a couple more buyouts you could do. Does that lend you to want to do more that way?
Well, speaking of guys that we think are really good potentially in the future, Melton and Batum as well. Look, we have some flexibility. We created that. If a player comes available, we'll go for it. We felt like, there was one key player that we really had to get, and we saved our mid-level one. People were, again, Philly fans were correctly honest, like, hey, why didn't you use your mid-level? Well, it's for this reason right here that we had hoped someone would be available where our extra money we could give them would make a difference. So that was the key one. At least right now, obviously we'll be adding some players by buyout, but I think in terms of like players who will contribute in the rotation, it's pretty likely just the one, and the others will be used for either shoring up backups, to your point, or potentially a signing that has a future component with a younger player.
What do you find are most people in the process of like ring chasing or something like that when it comes to the veteran buyout market?
Yeah, I think there's two main types, ring chasers, to your point. And then there's just, guys who want to get minutes out there prior to getting into free agency. So they're not as worried about the team they go to. They're just hoping to get some role on some team that allows them to show what they can do still in free agency.
Daryl, should you get Joel Embiid back, say, I don't know, late March, mid-March, and he's able to do a little playoff run for you, and everybody else gets healthy, you might have a bench with Oubre and DeAnthony Melton coming off it. That's a little bit better. You have a new starting lineup, a shooter. Where does your lineup, if all healthy at the end of the year, stack up with, let's say, the top teams in the East right now?
Yeah, I think it's right there. I think you just given how the Celtics are playing, I think you have to go in saying they're the favorite. But after the Celtics, we feel like we are better than everyone in the East, fully healthy.
That's confidence. And people are excited about it. Daryl, we appreciate your time, and we wish good health to everyone in the Sixers organization. That includes you walking around the streets. Don't trip or anything like that, too, okay?
Yeah, exactly. Well, after getting Buddy Hield, it's safer for me now.
It is. Now you're not going to get too harassed.
For a few minutes.
Exactly.
For a few minutes. Yeah. So,
Thank you,
all right,
Daryl.
so much, Daryl.
Appreciate it.
All right, take care.
We appreciate Daryl Morey joining us on the Comcast Business Hotline, where every day in business is a big day. And Comcast Business gets you ready for what's next.
Yeah, I had a couple things there, real quick. The first question I asked, and somebody busted on me about, what kind of question is that? I asked him, is it the idea of Joel Embiid coming back or the hope of him coming back? It's a little thing, and I know how coaches and trainers and all talk, and Daryl went right to it's the hope of him coming back. If it was the idea, to me, that means, oh, yeah, we're pretty confident he's coming back. Idea is we're putting something in place. The idea is to join them with Embiid because he's going to be okay. The hope is not what I'm not going to say not what you wanted to hear, but it's the lesser of the two that you wanted to hear. Then I thought it was pretty interesting that, Tobias Harris, Buddy Hield.
I said to you the other day, is it going to shock you if Tobias Harris is back next year? I'm telling you right now, and I heard the very talented D. Lynam on our own airwaves talking about it a few weeks ago, and she said, I believe if Tobias Harris leaves, and her words were, it's going to be one of those players that you don't know what you had till they're gone, because of if you've got a third or fourth option that is that consistently giving you numbers like that, that's about.
Yeah, and people rightfully talk about, he'll give you numbers, but sometimes are they hollow? Okay, I hear you.
Okay.
Like Joel Embiid's out. You need him to you need Tobias 20 shots a game. He's got to average it. I think Andrew's number's like 22 a game. I hear you on that. Okay, I don't mind that. It probably doesn't happen enough for people's liking, and I totally understand that. Dee's point of, are you going to get 17, 7, 50% shooter from the floor, 40% shooter from three, 90% shooter from the foul line? Is that easy to find? Absolutely not. So it's the yin and the yang of it. You kind of have to say, well, are you better off with or better off without? And if you're a person that says, look, he's got hollow points and all that, I understand. But say to yourself honestly, are you better off with or better off without those numbers I just gave you? Because I don't know how easy they are to find. So that's why Daryl Morey has a lot in front of him. I think this Buddy Hield thing, I think it's a long-term thing.
Oh, so do I.
Yeah.
His press conference the other day got me fired up. Like, it got me fired up to hear him talking about, he was calling around to people in the league, and he was hearing about how passionate people are about basketball here and how much fun it is to play here. Everything was positive, positive, positive. I think that he wants to be a part of this long-term plan. And his skill set could absolutely be something that you could be proud, be happy with. Let's put it that way.
He was in the arena apparently at like 3:30, looking to find the Sixers locker room to try to figure out, where do I go? How can I get dressed? I need to get out on the floor. Was out there shooting bright and early. Like, everything that he has said, everything that he has done has been something that you want. And if you can team that in the eyes of a Daryl Morey with a Joel Embiid, maybe, just maybe, that's one of the things you've been looking for a lot. I had somebody say to me, Tobias Harris, he's nowhere near a 40, 50, 90 guy. He did it 2 years ago. This year he's 37% from three. He's 48% from the field, and he's 85% from the free throw line, 89% from the free throw line. Sorry, that's really close.
That is.
It's, 50% from the floor, 35% from three, 90% from the foul line. That's pretty close.
That's
to 40,
really
50,
close.
90, yeah.
Yes, that's really close, and I guarantee you there's not going to be a ton of people that you're going to find on the open market who are going to be sitting there that are going to give you that.
That's why Daryl Morey makes the good money.
We end out the show today with a big bow, and Bob had a column on it about the end of the 2023 football season that ended last night with the Chiefs winning. Pat, the most disappointing season in recent Eagles history to you since the Dream Team?
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Dream Team you had a lot of hope. I'd throw the season after the Eagles won the Super Bowl up there as well.
18.
And the reason why I throw that team in there is they were returning a lot of their players. They were returning the same head coach. Yes, they weren't returning the quarterback, but they had such an easy schedule that the quarterback, being Carson Wentz, should not have had to come back as early as he did because Nick Foles wasn't playing well. And that's the elephant in the room. So I would throw that in the discussion. But, yeah, it's the most disappointing since Dream Team.
Probably. And maybe even worse because of the way it went down.
It was a tough year, a tough ending to the year, and we will be talking about it as we move to turn the page. Just a reminder, Super Bowl 59 is in New Orleans. A party on Bourbon Street. I could talk myself into believing that it can happen. What about you? We'll be talking about it all summer long, I'm sure. Support life-saving cancer research. Join us and our generous partner, the Davis CPA Group. Hey, Ron. And make a donation to the American Association for Cancer Research. Do it today at 975thefanatic.com/AACR because cancer research saves lives. Andrew Salchunas has got a plan to entertain you. We'll see how the plan goes down. Plus, the best show ever at 2. Don't miss a minute of it. Sixers basketball tonight on the Fanatic, and then Flyers hockey over on MMR. We'll talk about it all tomorrow morning at 6. Have a